Right, so first up, we're gonna start with Vinicius Jr. racial abuse. Right,
Cool, cool.
so 1 second. So I think this is the first one. So I think this was after the game, with La Liga basically condemning, obviously, the chance towards him. So I didn't see the game, but I know you and G was watching the game, innit?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I did watch the game. Like obviously, like it was a very big. So it's a very big topic everywhere. Like everyone's talking about it. Obviously, they were chanting before the game, essentially monkey, 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 and all the rest of it. Like which is, it's mad in itself because obviously the authorities didn't seem to do anything. Obviously, in every country they've got their ultras, right? Even in this
Yeah,
country, they're just named something else, right? So ultimately, instead of obviously Atletico Madrid dealing with them, they chose not to. Which I guess in hindsight, when you really think about it, at the time, what would they have done? Because obviously they would have just got ambushed, right? Ultimately, yeah, they're not gonna
yeah.
have
'Cause
enough
I see
manpower.
some of the pictures online. 'Cause I think I see some things weren't didn't. 'Cause like I said, it's only some pictures, but I'm pretty sure I see
Mm.
some of the fans walking with like monkey toys, essentially,
They were,
like in
yeah,
crowd.
they were walking around with monkey toys. They had banners. They had all sorts of it.
Because
It
that
was
all
mad.
stem.
It
Because
was
what
mad.
was
It
this
was
guy's
all
name? So I've got the original one because it started. So what it originally stemmed
ba-
from, was it a media
basically,
outlet?
yeah, yeah. Like, I think it was a commentator or something. Like someone in the media anyway said something about his dancing and how like he shouldn't be doing it and all the rest of it, and that connected it to his race and all the rest of the
Yeah, because
typical
for monkeying around
silliness.
as
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, as we know, like Spain in some parts they are quite racist. We can't obviously deny that or shy away from it, right? So ultimately, once that was said, we kind of knew what was going to happen. Obviously, the usual ones are going to say what they're going to say, make their racial comments and all the rest of it. It's totally wrong. It shouldn't happen. But the biggest problem for me is that obviously it was bubbling all week, and the officials did absolutely nothing. It was just like, oh yeah, like they're just gonna say whatever they're gonna say, and then that's it. Like but it should never have been said in the first place. This is the problem. And once it's coming from commentators and whatnot, then you've lost control of the situation. Because obviously the fans just think, oh yeah, if they're saying it, we can say it. you know?
yeah, no, it kind of threw me off because, like I say, after that, obviously, we see a lot of the backlash online with it. I'm a bit more surprised that La Liga haven't basically tried to take more of a stance. I think I've seen that, obviously, I think there's going to be some punishment headed towards Atletico's way for it.
Yeah, there will be, but
But
really and
I think
truly,
now we've got to the point where these punishments ain't deterring anything.
the
It's
punishment needs
like,
to
where
be
do you draw the line and
yeah.
actually come down hard on it? And my thing is, it's a bit hard for us in England because I think in England it's definitely a case where we're not even doing enough for the racist abuse
Well,
because
that's very true.
I see it a lot. I remember even a few seasons, I think it was before COVID. There's like a couple Palace fans, like one used to sit a few rows in front of me, and it's like whenever Benteke did something, he'd always every now and be like, "Have a banana." So then, like one time, I kind of had to pull it up, and I was like, "Raw, it's a bit wrong. You might not see it as that, but
Mm.
obviously, it is
That
a
is
bit
mental.
wild that you're actually making that statement."
Wow.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes,
Wow.
and I'm not even going to put it down to ignorance because it's more enough in the forefront now where you know what that means in a sense. So you can't even use, "Oh, but I didn't know," because then that's just being ignorant. And I think
Yes, it's a
even in this
choice.
country, not enough fans like confront those who they see doing it. Because even Chelsea this season with Son, I even see the pictures after the game. It's like no one thought to even pull the fan up for doing the racial gesture that he did when he did the thing with the eyes. And it's just like in this country, it's just you think you're making a step in the right direction, and it's like the next week something else comes to the forefront, and it just no nothing seems to be happening.
Do you
That's
know
like
why?
when they decided to end the knee. I was kind of happy because I'm like, it's all good having the knee. what is that knee symbolizing now? It just looks like a total gesture. The first few weeks, yeah, it looked cool. Everyone did it, and it's like after a while, you're doing it every week. It's just, oh yeah, we're just taking a knee. So it kind of loses all appeal the more you do it.
On that, yeah, like the reason why people are comfortable in well, okay, in Spain, for me and from the outside looking in, it seems that they've got a culture of accepting that this is not even a big issue. That's why. If this was a big issue for them, La Liga would deduct 3 points from Atletico and just say, listen, hold that, yeah? And then they, get all out of the blue, everybody will start patterning up. But because
Okay.
it's not really a big issue, they'll
Okay.
start doing it.
I,
And the
I was
reason
just
why, oh yeah,
I hear you, but the issue you have is that if you're gonna the league can do that, but I think like okay, you wait for that they oversee everyone, right? Now, obviously they don't control the league, but they see everything, right? When they're
yeah,
ready to find people when it comes to financial situation or the rest of it, they're quick to do so. So what they really should do, the biggest punishment would be is obviously just say, okay, this ain't the first time because it's not the first time Athletic Madrid fans have done this. It's
No,
not the first time. Like ban
it
them
won't
from
be the
European
last either.
competition. You have to go extreme. Like, ban them from European competition. Say the next best team comes into the competition. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we've just lost. Not only they've lost income, they're out of the competition.
and the
It's a
fans miss
double.
out. The players miss
Right.
out, the club misses out, the fans miss out, and they all have to come together in resolving the solution amongst
There
themselves.
you
Because
go. But then as a club,
you exactly, you can't punish. You can't just say, okay, the fans, no fans in the stadium for the rest of the season.
come on, that's not gonna work.
That's
Like,
not going to work.
come on, look up Bulgaria. Like,
A
how
lot
many
of times
times?
they'll close like a stand or something, and you just don't. Again, you just won't see no real change in the situation. And I think that's what the big problem is. There's always solutions that people throw out, but there's never no real action.
Or this
Because it's
this
not a
is
big
this is
solution.
it.
It's not a big problem. If it was a big problem to these man, like listen, you know how quick they were to act when the some clubs were about to join the Super League. They these men were pulling off the trumps. Rah, you man are not gonna get selected for international duty. Any player that does this, you know, they're not gonna any club that does this, they're not gonna play the Champions League. They will say the madness, yeah, because they were about to join another league. Yeah. For this, it's not even an issue for them. That's why it's moving like this. That's why. If it was a big
No,
issue,
I heard that.
you will see
I heard
drastic
that.
action.
I heard that, but as a club as well, they have to take action. It's not just obviously the league and UEFA and all the rest. They have to take action because I use Real Madrid as an example. When their fans were acting up, they banned them. That they found every individual or most of them and banned them from the stadium. Atletico Madrid could do that if they wanted to. They choose not to. That's a choice. So ultimately, like it's one of those where they're choosing not to act. It's a choice. Like it starts with them as a club.
Yeah,
You know,
and
not
I'm someone that likes to I like Atletico. That would be that's like the Spanish team I follow. And even when I was seeing the things on Sunday, it was like, yeah, this ain't even it. Like, just for the select minority that are doing it, for all the other thousands that are going with good intention. And I've always said the small few ruin it for everyone else. I think on Sunday, as a club, like for the club, it was 100% a terrible look. Like you go online, the first thing you see is all the crap outside the stadium. But like
Mhm.
again, what didn't help was the Spanish media was still pushing that agenda that like, yeah, but it's fine. That's where it come across as, yeah, but you're overreacting. And I
Did you
think
guys
that,
see do you know a guy called Graham Hunter? He's like a Spanish.
yeah,
He
he's
works
Yeah,
on
on
Sky,
yeah,
bruv.
yeah, yeah.
I had a Twitter conversation with him, bruv, on the day after the match because the thing about Spain, bruv, is it's miles behind here, bruv. It's like socially acceptable. I swear to God, this is a true story, right? You know, I told you I went to the El Clasico match, Barcelona Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Ronaldinho spun them. They won 3-0. Yeah, it was Ronaldinho's best ever
that one where they
performance.
clapped it.
Yeah, when they clapped him off the pitch, I was there that day. Right, I swear down. We were in the crowd supporting Real Madrid. me and my mates, and we could feel the spit on the back of our head. Where every time Etu got the ball, they were saying "negro de mierda," which means basically a black piece of shit. That's what it means. There were thousands of people shouting it. You could feel the spit on the back of our heads and people behind us, bruv, shouting it. At half time, we went to the toilets. They can't allow me because I'm like, I'm not as dark as some of my other brethren. We went to the toilet. They were banging on the door where my brethren was in the toilet, making monkey noises. I just thought, you know what? We're going down in a fucking urinal in the Bernabeu, bruv. It's crazy, man. I literally thought we were going to be having some massive fucking fight in the toilet at the Bernabeu when we're supporting their team against Barcelona. And after that time, I went to Madrid. I was like, I'm never going back to that country, that city, ever again. It was one of the worst experiences. And we're supporting their team, bruv. Do you know what I mean? So, and what's weird is it just seems to be like they have a thing about you got only if you're a certain shade of colour. Because when Etu got the ball, they were making monkey noises, calling him a black piece of shit. When Ronaldinho got the ball, they clapped him off the pitch, bruv. You know what I mean? So it's just a madness. And
I'll tell you like this, yeah. Unfortunately, it's a thing. Like obviously, depending on how dark you are and whatnot, you get a certain reaction, isn't it? Like it's just one of those things. It happens. It's not going to change. It's going to continue to happen. Unfortunately, and it's not just Spain. Like we have to be real. A lot of Europe.
A lot of them European countries, you
Italy,
see.
right? As you guys know, my wife's Italian. Italy is just as bad, bro. Trust me.
Yeah, because who was it? Tomori was pulled, or Bakayoko was pulled over. Or was it Lukaku? I remember I see a thing where the player was pulled over, and then they was going on raggedy, like treated him like.
Oh no! It's Bakayoko. Yeah, you're right.
It was Bakayoko, and then one of them realized who he was, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we made a mistake here. Like,
it was Bakayoko.
Really?
I thought you was going to talk about the incident on the pitch when Lukaku was getting abused on the pitch by the fans.
Oh yeah, no,
The thing about Atletico Madrid, the reason why I replied to Graham Hunter is because that interview he gave to Off the Ball, he started it by saying, yeah, but look, if the US and the UK can employ, put in place a racist prime minister or president, what do you expect Atletico Madrid fans to do? And I'm like, bro, that's got nothing to do with it, really. Yes, I agree with the wider point of racism, but we're trying to basically justify probably 3,000 to 4,000 fans outside the Atletico Stadium chanting Vinicius is a monkey like that. That doesn't happen here. That doesn't happen here in the UK, bruv. It doesn't. People wouldn't feel comfortable or able to do that, bruv.
It depends on where you go, but obviously, in general, it wouldn't happen. But depending on where you go, there's certain.
Dan. So, what Premier League club do you think, out of 20 Premier League clubs, what stadium do you think 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people could be chanting whoever an opposition player is a monkey? You tell me, like what.
Well, I can't think of one in the Premier League, but I can think of one in the Championship. Wait, is Millwall still in the Championship? Is Millwall in the Championship?
Millwall's in Championship. They're racist, very racist.
There you go. Mate, I'll go past this age.
1 second. I don't want to think, but it was, I think it was pre-COVID. And there was the chant, which was alleged racism by the FA. But if you saw the video, you knew it. And it was the Millwall fans basically singing, I'd rather be a P word than a scouse. And I was just
West Ham fans sing that song as well. They used to sing that song as well.
No, I know, but I'm just like, when you've got things like that, and it was, the wording in the thing was alleged racist chants. It weren't alleged. We all saw the videos. We blatantly knew who was doing it. In the videos, you can see who's doing it. And I think they got a small fine. And it's just like, at some point, you need to take a hard stance on these things. It's like even a few weeks ago on Twitter,
this was Atletico Madrid, bruv, though.
I'm saying, with racism, but look at Palace. It was the game against Arsenal. I think it was highlighted by one fan. Oh, there's no diversity in this team. There was only 2 white players in the starting 11. I don't get what the relevance was there. Like,
basically, it's called reverse racism, mate.
That's what I'm saying. You was trying to allude to something here, and it was just like, you go with your best team, innit? Like,
No, I agree with everything you boys are saying. The point I'm trying to make is in a big derby here in the Premier League, like let's say Tottenham, Arsenal, or I don't know the Manchester
you know, I had
derby,
it in one of your games
derby.
where someone threw the banana at Aubameyang.
They
The Tottenham
threw.
fan.
That's
Banana.
one fan, but having 4,000-5,000
I'm just saying,
fans
like, so
outside
you.
the stadium, bro. Like,
No,
do
what
you
I'm
know what I
saying is,
mean?
I think with these things, you get isolated incidents. I
It's
don't
like I said,
think we,
it depends on the situation. Look at
and I don't think we have those situations in this country.
We
And
still
No,
have
obviously, they
racism here. I agree with
and
you.
you get the
But
isolated incidents. But I don't think. I think as a country, for the most part, we've moved on from the stance of saying 4,000 or 5,000 people gathering outside the stadium to do that.
Exactly.
you're not gonna get that per se. But then,
Yeah.
I don't know how long ago it was. It might have been 4 years ago, maybe the Chelsea. I think they were in France or something, and they were
Yeah, the one with the
they,
black guy where they pushed him off
yeah.
the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like obviously, like it depends on the situation. It might not necessarily happen outside the stadium, but don't get twisted. You are gonna get fans either
I
out
agree,
in the stadium,
100%.
outside
Yeah.
the stadium. They are gonna chat nonsense. Obviously, the majority of them may not say it in public because of obvious reasons, but it
That's
doesn't
the
mean
difference, Dan. They
yeah.
think it, but they don't feel able to be able to say it. Like 5,000 people outside the stadium calling Vinicius a monkey, blah blah.
Yeah, because
I just can't see that happening in the Premier
because
League now.
the mentality is different because obviously in Europe, unfortunately, you do get those, as they call them, ultras, who are just ultra, like they're just on a different level. Like they're literally,
They're just
you got
on
5,000.
that.
They're not there to really watch football.
Yeah, they're
Let's
not.
be real.
'Cause
They're there to
It's
fight.
like it's one big
Like,
gang, isn't it?
was it the
It's
yeah,
one
it's
Euros
big.
like
that
right. It's like
was there
20
a
years
Euro?
ago.
Was it in
Like,
France? The last Euros?
No, it's in the
No,
UK.
not
But
the one before that. Not the split
Uh,
one, but was France
uh,
the last country to host it as like one nation?
I think so,
yes,
maybe, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that
2016.
one, there was the incidences where the ultras were like attacking English fans and stuff like that. So you were seeing those videos that were circulating. It's like
Mhm.
even the other day with
Russia was the
Liverpool
last
fans,
World Cup, isn't it? Russia was
that
the
was the
last
last
World
World
Cup.
Cup. But I
Yeah.
think it was a
Euros.
Euros France held, and there was incidences
Okay.
where they was telling fans not to go to places. But even the other day with Liverpool fans against Napoli, and they was telling them basically don't go out in your shirt colours. So,
Yeah,
and it's because you get them ultras that are just there for the most part
Yeah.
yeah.
to
They
enjoy the
just
show
on
side.
it. They love it.
But
They're not
to
there.
avoid this being like a moaning session, I think, like I said, what do we think should be the right punishment that La
I
Liga should
think
put on Atletico to really move things forward where our people don't get,
see
do you
the
know what I
issue
mean?
you have
You know,
is
don't get
I think
abused
no matter
and
what La Liga do, I don't
You
think
can't.
it's at first it's gonna be one of those ones where it's like a suspended punishment. If it happens again, because that's the way they're gonna play it. And I think in theory, it's a bit of a weird one because, like I say, to a degree, you're punishing a team because
what
of
about what OTC said?
individual.
3 points, bang, deduction
No, that's what I'm
straight
saying. So
away.
I
Yeah,
think
but that doesn't affect the fans, though. The
yeah,
fans who are doing it, that doesn't affect
But it
them.
affects the
They
club,
that's what I'm
don't
bro.
saying.
care.
So you
But
It
they don't
affects
yeah,
their
it
care.
affects
team,
the
doesn't
club.
it? It
Yeah, but they
affects their
don't. Yeah,
team,
but
baby.
they don't care though. They don't care
I
though.
would say at the same time, I think it's going to be a case where they're not really going to care, and it's not going to deter them necessarily from doing it. It just might make them for the next time round just to do it even more. So I think there needs to be like things in place where I think it needs a proper situation. I think it needs to be to the point where clubs are trying to identify individuals because I don't think they them little courses that they do. Oh yeah, we'll send you on a thing. Those ain't going to
No,
help.
they're not
But
going
I
to do
think
that.
This
But
is 5,000 people outside the stadium, boys.
okay,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I'll point you like this. Yeah, if it was over here, yeah, and someone was reported as being like making racist comments here, they can be arrested. Yeah, and then obviously it's down to the police what happens next. Yeah, right.
that does happen here, doesn't it? DD? You know what I mean? That
No,
does happen.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It happens here, but
yeah.
obviously, if it happened over there, then there might be an incentive for these idiots to keep their opinion, because it's ultimately their opinion, to themselves.
Yeah, but
You
this is
know,
I say
5,000
issue
people
you have
outside the
is
stadium, boys. So, you
I was
know,
going to say so. I
it's
think
different to
in
one
no,
guy throwing a banana at Aubameyang. It's different,
yeah,
isn't it?
that's
You
what I'm
know?
no,
saying. So I think
no,
in these
I
instances,
totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. But obviously, the police is there, right? Obviously, they need to use their powers effectively. At times, they don't. Like, let's be real. Like, even the threat of it, if it stops them, would be something. They're trying to do something. In my opinion, they're not doing nothing at all because they're not going to find them. they're not gonna ban the fans. Let's be real. Even if they do, they're not gonna sit there and get all 5,000 or whatever it was. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna be the unlucky few. It's they're not doing enough, and they're not gonna.
That's
do
what I said.
it.
It's
No,
it's
but-
one
That's
of
why I
those.
think something drastic like what OTC was saying, where they deduct points. Let's try it, bruv. You know what I mean?
No, I'm
let's
not. I'm
really-
not saying. I'm not saying don't try it. Listen.
I'm
if
just
they
saying
do it
it-
and
I
it
think-
works, but I doubt that's gonna work.
I think they've got to put a thing
Probably
in place.
won't
where-
because people are just sick in it. But let's
and I think
if maybe they think in their head, look, if I'm going to start shouting, you black piece of shit, and my club's going to lose 3 points, it might make a lot of people not do it.
I doubt it. No, the ones who are followers, yes, because you're gonna get the ones who they just follow, right? So they might listen. But the ones who truly, truly mean what they say, they are not going to stop.
Yes, I
I
think
want
that's
to-
what it
I
is.
They're
want-
not
I
because
want-
they're that's how they feel in it, and they
Nah,
just
Yeah, for me, I think you got to hit at like multiple different angles at once. There's not one solution. You got to hit at all at once. If a fan base in the UK, let's say it was about 20 people, were shouting chants, what would happen? You have people in the media speaking out against about it. You see the players speak out against it. You will see the FA doing some kind of fine, or they'll do something to the club. There'll be
It's different-
and
it's a
then
different culture.
there'll be but there'll be things from multiple different angles. This
No, I
how
totally-
you
I
and then
totally agree.
all
I
together,
totally agree.
are creating a all those factors combined will create a culture of
No, I totally
racism
agree.
being unacceptable.
I
If you say
totally agree.
it's a
But
bit like
it's a different culture.
like Dan. Let me give you an example. Yeah,
But they have
Imagine
to
it-
change the
imagine-
culture, D. That's what we're trying to say. So
Yeah.
in England, this used to happen, bruv. People like John
that's what I'm
Barnes, Ian Wright, Kevin Campbell, Rocky Rokowski. Imagine the racism these men felt, bruv. It was shocking. It was like what it's like in Spain now.
Mate, I totally agree with you. But the difference is that something clicked over here, and obviously some people were prepared to learn and educate themselves and all the rest of it. Not everyone, because there's still racism out there. Like I see racism every day, like in my workplace. But obviously, unfortunately, like I've been to Spain many times, and I'm not because like obviously if anything was to happen out there, I'll still go because obviously at the end of the day, I feel like I should be able to go anywhere I want to go. But obviously, they're not prepared to learn that some of these people. This is just a fact. Unfortunately, like
It's
they're more
true, man.
open.
That's how they feel, innit? That's how they feel.
They're more open. They're more open over there than they are over here because
And
they
that's
don't
the issue.
care.
For me, that's the issue. So we move forward here where I
I
don't
think
believe
it's
that
a-
these
I
people think
think it's a
differently,
catch-
but
I think-
what
I
they
think it's a
what they feel they can't do is stand together in thousands and call someone a black piece of shit. So but in Spain they feel like they can still do that. And that's the shame, man. That's the
I think
real
it's the environment. I think we have to agree and disagree on this one. I think it's the environment because certain men over here, if they had the chance and they were given the environment like the normal fans, because if they're in the right environment, let's not get twisted. They're gonna do what they're gonna do, and there's nothing. Not one of us could say they're not gonna change their mind. They're gonna do what they're gonna do. But if they're in an environment where something could happen to them, they're not gonna do it. But if they're in an environment where they know, okay, there's no police, like what are you gonna do? They're gonna say whatever they're gonna say. The difference in Spain is that they don't care what the police are gonna say because
That's what I'm
clearly
saying.
the police have no control.
That's
You
what
know
I'm
what
saying. In Spain, they don't care, bruv. It's culturally, it's social, not culturally, sorry, socially, they don't actually see it as that bad a thing. Like you could tell by the way they're trying to justify that guy's comments, like saying, "Oh, it's not, you can't, you can't do
Yeah,
it."
but what did you expect from Graham Hunter? Just like curiosity, because he's from a certain generation where he should know better, but then he's from a certain generation, so he might not really be.
Yeah, but if these men are backslapping him, saying, "Well, so I'm going to call him out," I'm going to be like, "Hang on a minute, you're trying to sort of, you're not justifying it because he said it was a bad thing, but he's trying to sort of play it down where he's saying, well, if Donald Trump is a racist and he's American president, that suddenly means that 5,000 Spanish fans outside Atletico are justified in shouting
I think
that shit. That's the only reason why I piped up because it just
I heard that, but I think in that instance, like he was very stupid to say such a thing because how can you compare it? Like you're comparing like what the Spanish people in that situation were doing to someone who's like he was
that
like it's not a comparison. Like,
Exactly,
It's-
D. That's what I'm saying, D. That's why I called him out on it.
But it is after Wimbledon, there was a reporter, and he basically likened Novak Djokovic's situation to that of Muhammad Ali, and I was just like, they're not even the same kind of struggles. One's
you
over a
know,
vaccination thing, and one was over something of a proper serious nature. And I was just like, when you start trying to compare a man's struggle to another man's,
you
it
know what it
kind of
is.
big. And I think
You know what
in
it
Spain,
is.
Ali
it's
will be
just
turning in his grave. Think
It's
about
an
it.
insult. It's an absolute
You
insult.
know what it is. It's wild, but let me tell you something. Yeah, if you're not from their culture, then they're gonna just come up with the most wildest things that just in their brain to justify whatever they're gonna say, isn't it? Because they like to downplay whatever anything which is black, they'll
yeah, because you
downgrade
see
it.
one thing, because even
That's what
Ebra
they
the
want
other
to
day
do.
come out and said when they was winning, he was French, but the second he was losing, he was Senegalese. But like I say, I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking of is like a
Ozil
lot of
said the same.
cultures. Like it's a culture thing where I think until culture start changing, we'll still continue to see some of these things in some of these countries, and
On
it
that
kind of
point, you were
reflects
just
bad
But
like,
on
how?
a
But
lot of
how?
these fans.
Oz,
Huh?
Oz, you haven't said anything. What are you saying? You haven't
yeah,
said.
on
You're
that
there.
point,
You're
sorry.
there like Julio blood. We're you're
Yeah,
there
you're
like
gonna chopper.
gangsters paradise. But
Yeah.
what are you saying?
No, but it's the same. I'm that when like people like Sancho are doing good for England, the British, when they're doing bad, like obviously when that happened, the black. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Oh, yeah.
like
A
it's
perfect
always the
example.
same, innit?
A few
Yeah, but
seasons ago, when Palace
it's
played United at Old Trafford, I was there because I went with Asher and one of my cousins in it. So I think we was 1-0 up at the time, and United got a penalty, and Rashford was stepping up to take it, and I turned and I said to Ash, "You know what's sad?" Because I was like, "He's gonna miss," but I was like, once he misses, all you're gonna hear online is about racial abuse.
We all
So
know. We
in
all
the
know.
stadium, we didn't see it in it. So we come out now after the game's done, and obviously we got on the coach. Obviously he was peed off with the result, and one of the Palace guys was like, he's just been online, and the racial abuse aimed at Rashford and that, like he's like it's shocking, and I'm like, then
Why
even
is that
down to the
shocking?
Euros. No. He was like, it's quite shocking. So then the Euros. Obviously, I don't support England like that as my team that I follow internationally. So I was sitting there watching the finals. So obviously, I'm just watching as a fan, aren't it? Like I'm not really caring about the result as such. But it's like as soon as I see each individual black player step up, in my head, I knew they were. I had a feeling they was all gonna miss, and my first thing was I wasn't even it wasn't even the fact that they was going to miss, in my opinion. That was the thing. My thing was more, I was thinking, man, the racial abuse these men are going to get for this is going to be crazy. And lo and behold, each three missed. And then it's like the abuse you saw online. I wasn't shocked because I was expecting it, but it's just like, man, just when you thought you was hoping to be proved wrong,
Boys,
like everyone just.
we're thinking this as fans. Can you imagine what they're thinking when they're
You know
stepping
what I'm
up?
saying? So it's a bit of a mad one, isn't it? So we look
It's
at it from these angles. I'm just like, we don't
it's
even outline it
difficult.
in our own country.
No, this is it. It's difficult because you know what? For those guys, it's a bit different, because obviously, depending on where you're from, depends on your understanding per se. Because, like, for instance, Sancho's from London, right? He
Yeah.
will see things totally different to say a Marcus Rashford because obviously he's from up Manchester and whatnot. Like, and maybe it might be different up there because I don't know. Like, I don't live in Manchester, right? But obviously it's different. Like, I don't know. For us black guys, we live in London. Mate, it's heat every day. Like, it's heat every day.
Yeah,
If,
it's an,
if like if
an
it's
everyday
not
thing.
verbal, it's the eyeballs, mate. The amount of times I could be walking down the road, you're minding my business, and you'll get like some person that wants to cross the road or they'll hold onto the bag
Let
tightly
me let
or
me give you a joke on that one.
it's just so mad. It's unreal.
So imagine
Right, if I
last
saw
Friday,
you,
yeah.
I think the same as well. I'm joking.
No, honestly, so, last Friday, like I was coming home from work. Bearing in mind, it's broad daylight. Obviously, I kind of make a conscious effort to know the faces of my neighbors in my block, in it. So like, there's this girl. So I used to go to school last year with her brother in it. So I think her brother must go to college now. But obviously, she's walking ahead of me. Obviously, I know she lives in my block because I know her face. Because, like I say, I make it my business to know everyone's face in my block. So she's turned around and seen me. I walk kind of quick anyway, so I'm kind of catching her at a pace anyway. But she's turned around, seen me, and kind of started walking fast. Like, and then she keeps turning back, looking at me and walking faster. But the thing that's making me laugh, one, I'm catching you because I walk naturally fast anyway. But then she's kind of cut into the bit where our block is, and she's by the block, but I can see her kind of pressing the buzzer quick. So I've just walked up now, put my key in, opened the door and let her in, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." But in my head, I'm like, "Well, you was running, and I don't know what you was running for. Like, what was you expecting me to do here?" Like, we see, and the weirdest thing was when I used to leave to go to work in the morning, they was leaving to go to school. So we used to see each other every morning, but it's like over the summer holidays, you forgot who lives in your block. But I was just like, so I see it even in my day-to-day life with how racism is, and people will just look at you. I've even had people that clutch their bags, and it's just like, if I really wanted to do something, like, it would be done. But you have this pre-notion of I don't even know where it comes from, because I don't even want to say it's a thing where you see it every day, because you don't see these incidents every day. Like, it's not a regular occurrence. But when you do see it, it's like, well, what do you have in your head to give you this perception?
Do you know what? Do you know where they get it from? I'll say where they get it from. Yeah, they get it from the media. Yeah, that is the cesspool of brainwashing in the country, fam. Yeah, they have a picture. They have a picture of someone of, like, with, this color. Yeah, and then they attach with violent acts, and that's all they have in their head. These men are violent. But hella gangland documentaries and shit like that. Yeah, they have it programmed in their head that these people are violent. Yeah, so when they see somebody who they've been watching on the news in real life walking fast behind them, in their head they're probably thinking, "Rah, he's gonna do something violent to me." Bro, I guarantee, yeah, if it was the complete opposite, and they displayed us as people of amazing good light in the media, bro, they will all stop and wait for us, and then try to talk to us all the time and bust convo. Yeah, it's all conditioning. Most when you see the media, you see like an old lady, yeah, as like friendly, welcoming, etc. So the people are more likely to be friendly in that regard. It's all conditioning. I'm telling you that for free.
It's the same as this thing that came from Spain, though. Didn't it start in the media? That's where it started, wasn't it?
Yeah. The guy said what he said, and then obviously they jumped over it.
Was it on TV or was it like a tweet?
Yeah, this is what I didn't
understand.
understand.
It's a TV show.
It was an interview, innit? Was it live though or not?
It's a TV show.
But it's a TV show. Yeah, the guy. I think it was live. Don't quote me on it. I think it was live. Regardless if it was live or not, it's gone out there.
Obviously, it don't justify it, but
no. It's gone out. It justifies it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, if it's pre-recorded,
because if it's pre-recorded, they could have removed it, but they chose not to. Regardless, it's out there. They're so mad. The guy still defended himself. That's the bad thing about it.
Did. Yeah, I saw that.
He continues to defend himself, and you're thinking to yourself, right? At what stage are you just gonna shut up? Even if you think you're right, just shut up, because you're not helping yourself right now.
Yeah, because you know what that kind of sounds like. The other day with what's his face in it, Trevor Sinclair.
Man,
when he did what he did, then obviously he come out of his tweet apologizing, and then it was mental health, and it's just like,
mate, it's not mental health. This
Trevor, mate.
You said what you said. Mate. You've voiced your opinion. Listen, not everyone's gonna like the Wales and all the rest of it, right? Like, everyone's not a fan, but don't talk for everyone in those kind of situations, because one thing I do know is that even if some people agree with you, they're not going to be standing next to you. So at that point, he should have just he should have said he was hacked. Done. Kept it moving. I was hacked. Keep it moving. Done. No.
Second, you know, cut out when you were saying that, innit?
Like, just say he was hacked and done. Just keep it moving, done. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's just, I don't
Agreed,
know. Like,
man.
it's
Agreed.
just so
Let's
ridiculous.
talk football, boys. I don't want it to be like a
Right, no,
black
no,
agony
no,
art
no,
session.
no,
You know what I
we're
mean?
gonna-
We're all moaning, bro.
Black
You know,
No,
like
it is,
agony.
no, it is.
No.
No, it is. We wanted to do that topic first. Obviously, it
Yo.
was more of
it's
a serious
important. It is important, but it actually it
next
just gets me vexed in it.
thing
So
on the
No,
docket we'll
Black
do
agony.
is was Arteta right to bring on Ethan Nwaneri?
one area, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, so what?
Silent.
Obviously, I've seen since he's come on, I've seen various things. Some criticizing, some I wouldn't say praise. Some was like, "Oh, it was a good moment for the guy," but obviously, there's a lot of theories around it. So I personally don't think it was a bad thing. Like, if he's good enough, if you thought he's good enough to play, then I don't see the problem with it. I did see an opinion the other day. I wish I kind of bookmarked the tweet, but it was basically alluding to the fact that it was a smart business move from Arsenal. Basically, on the lines, I'm not sure if he's being touted by like other academies and stuff at the moment with the prospect of signing him. So I don't know how true those statements were. But basically, what they were saying is by him starting him in the Premier League or by starting a game, it kind of gives Arsenal better positioning. So, say if he was to leave and join another club before the thing, when it comes to like negotiating a fee for what he's worth, they basically wouldn't just get like a little backhanded change. So they were basically saying by starting him, it kind of gives them more of
it helps his value in theory.
ups his value in
But my
theory to
question,
obviously if he moves to another English team.
but my question would be: As he signed a pro, he hasn't signed a pro contract. Has he?
No, he can't sign a pro contract until he's 17. So that's what they was
But you
alluding
can
to.
sign. You can sign one beforehand. So when
Yeah,
he
so you
does
can
turn
basically
17, it's a
you get various
pre-contract.
different contracts before your because the first pro contract will come at 17, so you get your other contracts. But what they were saying is because he hasn't signed a pro contract yet, by him starting, it kind of gives Arsenal essentially a bargaining chip when it comes to that. Because I think
in theory.
Liverpool only played a small change for is it Harvey Elliott?
Yeah.
Are there fees? Are there transfer fees for like schoolboys?
No,
I've got no
it's
idea.
compensation fees.
It's compensation. I think I
Okay.
believe Harvey Elliott was like something like 4 million or something, something small. It wasn't.
Okay.
And that's
It
I think that's
it
because
wasn't a
he had
crazy.
So we're
started
talking M's then, boys. Yeah, we're talking M's. Yeah, like it's M's.
Well,
then.
because
potentially.
Arsenal
Like,
can
obviously,
argue that he has the potential to do this and that. We
yeah.
had the
So
same
we're going.
thing with one of our youngsters that we signed. We could have done it. We had the same incidents years ago with John Bostock when he went to Tottenham, and we
Yes.
was in and out of the tribunal, or basically over what the fee should be. Chelsea could have had it with Musiala if he had gone to another team rather than Bayern Munich, where it still probably wouldn't have been as much because he hadn't played for Chelsea. So in the end, I think Bayern Munich paid. I think I see report it was less than 100 grand. I think they paid.
I think they paid about 400k.
I'm not sure. I know it was a very low fee.
Like
It was low, but it just depends, isn't it? Like, obviously, you can sign.
But internationally, it's a bit different to domestic. So if it's domestic, I think
the only reason why I asked is he signed a pro contract because obviously you can sign one provisionally. So obviously, once you turn 17, it's just like boom, the contract's in place because you've already signed it provisionally. But that's the only reason I asked because if he hasn't, then it causes all kinds of complications. Because like you said, someone could just sweep him, sign him up, and then
I wish I
you have to
kind
go.
of bookmarked the tweet now because it was basically pinpointing the various reasons for why Arsenal would have started him in that game as opposed to just leaving him on the bench.
And this is why
I honestly do not understand what all the fuss is about. Arsenal is a football club, which is a business, right? At the end of the day, they've got to they've got to think business wise. Do you know what I mean? There's no point having people that you invested just going for no reason. I understand for the player himself, there's the negative thing that now eyes are going to be on him. Is he going to fulfill his potential because of this move? I get that from that side of things. But Arsenal as a business, they've not done nothing wrong.
Harvey Elliott and Jude Bellingham were 6 months older than Nwaneri. So I don't know. Like suddenly, it just seems to be a big issue. But
I think the
they were
question
6 months
is.
older. So
I think the question is.
But Jude was
like,
playing though
what's
for Birmingham, like as a starter at the time, right? If I remember.
no, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He made his debut at 16 miles.
That's
yeah,
That's
what I'm
his
saying.
debut.
he
Yeah,
was pretty much like on the get go start. Like it wasn't like
yeah.
I
So,
think the question is like, do they have these best interests at heart? Like really and truly, like
no, because
is this a
that
business
was
move?
my
Is this
thing.
you know?
They were obviously discussing it on Talksport, and they were saying they think. I didn't agree with the
And
Arteta.
everyone's come out and said they don't agree with that. To be honest, like Kunde is just
Like,
he's looking
it's
for views and that.
a weird position he was taking on it. And I was thinking, I don't think Arteta necessarily made it about himself. Again, as a business, from what I read, I understood why you would do it. Because
That is a factor. That probably is a factor. Yeah.
I would have probably done the same as well. So it gives you that. But at the same time, if he's good enough and if he's in a position, if he fulfills a position
But
that you're
basically, Per Mertesacker has been telling Arteta about this Brer for weeks now. They brought him into the first team training because we've got so many injuries at the moment. And apparently, from what Granit Xhaka, his quote while he's on international duty, he was saying that Nwaneri just lit it up, bruv. Do you know what I mean? He was he was so far ahead of any other academy youngster they brought in. So they kind of rewarded him and said, look, man, you've come in to the first team fold. You're showing your ability. Everyone rates you. And here you go. Here's like a reward for it, basically. So
I don't think it's going to make a difference because you've been watching the documentary, innit? And the first episode with Caden in the first episode, and when they put him with the older age groups, like he was someone. Just watching that, you can see he has a bit of an ego because he's being done that. When the coaches are telling him, just relax, like don't get ahead of yourself, because you could see in one of them things when he was ahead of himself and it wasn't going to plan. And I think, like I say, I've not watched much of that Arsenal one, if I'm being honest. Like I do try to keep up with enough of like the Palace Academy and the levels and stuff, because I like to see the youngsters that are coming through and whatnot. So I've admittedly I've not seen much of this kid. But if he is a grounded individual, what people seem to be saying he seems grounded, then as long as he don't have no ego, I think he does have the potential to reach that and probably push on. I just hope it's not put him in a position where he's thrown in as one of these youngsters, because we've seen it like with Makeda, Yanazai, like there's these other players that come through with all this potential, and it feels like they're thrusted into it and they never kind of reach it. And it's just like, oh man.
That's always a danger with youngsters, isn't it? But I think, like what Oz is saying, I think pretty much every other fan feels the same way. It's not really. I think they're making a bigger deal out of it than it really is. Personally, that's how I feel about it.
I think for me is it done for the right reasons? Like that's my thing, like because I keep telling people I like to see the youngsters play. I like to see the youngsters get developed. I love it. Like the football is not football. Yeah, we don't have like a wonder kid coming into a team here and just line it up. Like I just question, is it for the right reasons, or like Muller has brought up like the first point, is it a business move? Because if it's a business move, then
I think there's
probably a bit of both. If you develop someone since they were like 7, 8 years old, and you're at risk of losing them from like someone just coming in after like you've spent 5, 6 years developing them, going, we'll take him for free. Maybe there is a bit of that, but I don't think there's you have to protect your club and your assets, don't you? I mean, otherwise, what's the point? Someone's been in the academy. So say Theo, he's in the academy now. Hopefully he stays there. I don't think he will, but let's say he stays there for the next 6 years, and let's say he becomes a good player. If Liverpool come in and go, right, we'll take you for nothing, the club needs to protect themselves a little bit, isn't it? It's not, it's a business. Like I said, it's a business, but it's also a sport as well.
My other question as well is, if Arsenal weren't doing so well this season, would this even been an issue? Because I feel like it's because of how well Arsenal are doing.
I'm trying to pick a hole, aren't they? Trying to pick a hole in something,
To be quite honest, like other than Talksport, I don't think it's an issue. I just think that people obviously voice their opinion. Obviously, when you look at Twitter, saying someone voice their opinion, it's like obviously you get some people don't voice their opinion back, some people won't voice it. Like it's a clusterfuck. Like
I think where I can see what people are saying, D, as much as I don't agree with it, is because I think some clubs apparently, this is what I've, because obviously there's been so much talk about it, they have a ban where you have to be at least 16 to make your debut. I think apparently there's some Premier League clubs that have that sort of rule or something like that. I don't know.
I've
there's
never heard of that.
provisions in place, obviously, because if you're under 18, there's safeguarding issues. So there would have been like certain safeguard, but obviously the club would have been vetted in a way because obviously he's at the academy. So everything I think would be proper. But it's like I know when we played the Papa John's Trophy last year, AFC we
Is that
played.
what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, it's the.
Don't worry, it's halal. It's halal, bro. It's halal pizza, bro. Don't worry.
But we had AFC Wimbledon in our group, and I went to the game, and they played some youngsters, and obviously it's an under 21s thing, and then it's like any players of our team that's under a certain age. I know for the Premier League, there's certain things, and obviously if you've got like a gambling sponsor and stuff, you can't use that kit. So I think with some of our players that was underage, I think they was playing in like different sponsor. Like so,
okay.
So it's kind of like a different thing. And I think some of the AFC Wimbledon players, even they was playing with certain sponsors removed. Obviously, you can't. Whereas the weird thing is, if you're in the Championship, there's a loophole in the contract that will end, where even if you're underage, you can still play as a professional in the kit. So I think it's.
Well, do you see that Nwaneri had to have his own dressing room? He's not allowed.
Yeah, it's a safeguarding issue.
Child protection laws. That's a madness. When you think about it, that's actually a bit of a madness, isn't it?
I don't think it's safeguarding, isn't it?
It's safeguarding.
It is, but I mean, he's been training with these guys for the last 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. You know what I mean?
In training, the youngsters will be separated from them as well. So it's just part of like safeguarding and stuff that's actually in place for that. So even though they'll interact every day, it's still obviously certain things you can't have, and it has to be.
I think you got to be 16 or something. So he's 4 or 5 months off being 16. So
do you know why they're in separate age
There was so much things around him as well. But probably it's because he's now obviously the youngest player to play in the Premier League. I think that's where I could say all that. Not that I think it was an ego thing from Arteta, because I don't really care. Oh, you're the youngest player that plays in the Premier League. You can be that, then you can go on to be a flop. Then all you'll ever be known is, oh yeah, but I was the youngest player that played in the Premier League. And what did you do? So for
there's something about Arteta. Like who remembers who Harvey Elliott's manager was? Who remembers who like the other? Like you don't really remember the player. You don't remember the manager, do you? Who cares who the manager was?
Only in certain cases where I'd say, yeah, you can think that. And for me, the only one that comes to mind is Wayne Rooney, and that's because David Moyes was there for such a long time. Yeah. But other than that, who was James Milner's manager when it happened for him? And who
was Harvey? So that's where when people say Arteta trying to make it about himself, I'm like, well, I don't think so, because no one remembers the manager, bro.
I didn't remember that
player.
Oh, just to answer the question, I think James Milner's one was it David O'Leary, or was he sacked by them?
It could have been. It could have been.
Yeah, just to throw it out there, I do remember.
but
yeah, no, I'm saying
no one else remembers.
You're old, fam.
David O'Leary's not out here going, I was fucking, I gave James Milner his debut. You know what I mean? It's nothing to celebrate. Yeah, it's nothing to talk about.
It's not to celebrate, but I think obviously TalkSport or what's his name?
I think TalkSport was the one that made it more of a negative thing. Jamie O'Hara and Cundy.
Yeah,
obviously Jamie O'Hara was saying he didn't agree with Cundy. Cundy was going off on one, but he's a bit of a Chelsea boy. He hates like Spurs and Arsenal.
I think it's one of those. I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't like Arteta. Like obviously, he thinks Arteta's got a bit of an ego, so obviously he's gonna say, isn't it? But for me, my question is always: was it fully business? Was he told to do it? Was this his own thing? Did he decide to do it? What was it? We don't really know. Obviously, everyone's got their opinion. You know,
we don't. But you know, one thing it's done for me, because I've seen all the hype around him now. Obviously, like I say, I like to keep up with the Palace Academy teams and whatnot. I'm now going to look more to see, because he's not always going to play in the first team, so he will be back around the younger age group. So now he's like one of them players I'm going to kind of go out my way to look for, to see how they're kind of progressing. Because for me, it's giving me another player to look at. It's like, as you know, Dan, I like Charlie McNeil, so I always kind of look out to see how he's doing. And he's someone I actually would go out my way to look at now. So now I've seen him come through.
The one thing I will admit, as an Arsenal fan, boys, I'd never really heard of him. Like, I'd heard about Balogun, I'd heard about Patino, I heard so much about Wilshere. Like, I'm a big Arsenal fan. I'd heard about these youngsters. One thing I would say, where maybe it is a bit of a business thing, maybe you guys are right, is I haven't really heard that much about Nwaneri. But then when you hear people like Rio Ferdinand saying he has, obviously in the football industry or whatever in the circle, people have heard about him. But as a fan, I would admit, like I admitted earlier, I'd never heard of him. To be honest, you know what I mean?
I think it's just one of those weird ones. Unless you actually look out and watch your academy play, I think regularly, I think it's one of those ones you probably easily could miss. It's like I say, I see players coming through our academy, and there's even certain players I'm seeing, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'd like to see this player go out on a loan now, just to see. So I'm looking at ways.
I think his debut was planned though, because Arsenal, I saw a video earlier of all the youth academy players, like under 9, 10s, 11s, 12, they were all there watching the game. So I think it was planned that he would have some sort of feature in the game, because they put out a video to show that they were all watching him because he was on the bench. And there was another youth as well. So is it Sousa or Sosa? I don't know. I never even heard of these brothers, man. You know what I mean? So I think there was a feeling at the club that there was going to be something like that, a debut or something.
There was going to be an opportunity. Yeah.
What's that, bro?
There was going to obviously be an opportunity to get him.
Yeah, exactly. To get all the academy guys to boys together to watch the game, it was sort of almost as in they were sort of saying there might be something like this, you know.
Yeah.
I like it, because even with Palace, we will see at certain times when like an academy prospect will come on, and then we had I think it was early this season, one of our left backs, Adremola, like he come on, and it was like, it's a nice feeling when you can see a player come on and you see them make their debut. So I think sometimes, like I say, that's why my thing is I think it didn't really bother me, because he only come on for a few minutes.
Yeah, let's be honest. Sorry to see. To be honest, it's not a big deal, but I think it's the timing in the season which, for some people, maybe that where TalkSport might be getting an angle from. Because, like, okay, I look at United, for instance. A lot of the time in the Fergie era, you'll find it's either the youngsters were breaking through because there was an injury crisis, or it'd be like end of the season, last game, no one cares, season's done. You might play a couple youngsters, all the rest of it, right? But obviously, like, it's early in the season, you got this that.
Supposed for injury.
Yeah, because March.
Yeah, but Dan, I also saw, which I didn't realise.
Yeah.
Basically, you don't realise how thin a squad we've got. Like, Arteta's trying to be like a bit of a Poundland Pep, bruv, isn't he? He's trying to copy him, man. And Pep has a tighter squad. And so when you look at, obviously, we've got like 4 or 5 players out injured at the moment, which meant that there are actually no other players to put on the bench unless you bring those academy players in. So I saw some sort of podcast, I don't know when it was, the other day, where I didn't even really notice it, bruv, but the last 3 or 4 games, because of all these injuries, we've actually had some youths on the bench, basically, because just to make up the numbers kind of thing, bruv.
We tend to put 2 keepers on the bench.
But my question would be, if the squad's that thin, then why are players like Nathan Niles being sent out on loan? I know he wants to play football, but
yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you look at this summer, dude, we got rid of so many players and we didn't actually bring that many in. So numbers-wise, we are actually like I didn't really clock it until obviously all this is kicked off. When you look at it, what's that, Carl?
I was saying, I think what you lot did in the summer was get rid of a lot of the players that weren't in his plans, which I think was potentially overall a smart move.
The only problem is, the only reason why I think, I'm worried about top 4 is if we get like 2, 3 key injuries, then I'm worried, bruv, But otherwise, so far, I think we've been playing great football. I've enjoyed watching my team. And I think our first sort of 13, 14 players are really good, you know. But there's not much depth after that, and that's the worry, really. You know, that's the worry about the season, bro.
Now, for me, okay, on this bringing the youngster through, I understand if Fulham bring a youngster through. I understand if Bellingham starts with Birmingham City. I get it completely. But for me, and I get it, like if Pep wants to bring in like a Foden or someone to bring someone through where you're winning the league, etc. But if you're challenging for top four, and the reason why you fell short of top four last year was because of part of it was because of the youngsters and the naivety of the young footballers, why they kind of dropped off towards the back end, is bringing a 50-year-old. What benefit does that have to your goals in becoming a top four team or becoming or winning the Europa League? It has very little benefit. In fact, the only benefits for the club are really off the pitch for this one. And hence the reason why. And also, it's not even good for the development of the footballer, because for the footballer, it's better for him probably to go out on loan in another league or play football against bigger guys in the Championship maybe, or against, you know, in League Two, to develop himself. So I'm looking from a footballing perspective, it has very little benefit apart from Arteta on his TV. It will look good on Arteta's TV for bringing through a youngster. I like that. And if he ends up going well, Arteta could go to another club and say, look, guys, I can help bring through the academy. This is my CV of talent. Saka, Emil Smith Rowe, flipping this young brother as well, yeah? But really and truly, and for the club, they can say, listen, guys, join our academy because this is the reason why. This is the trophy. This is a guy who, you know, is the beacon of hope. But for the goals of what Arsenal want to achieve this season, it has no. I'm sorry, it has very little benefit. We all know this. It has very little benefit. And for the players' development, it's not good as well. It's not great as well for his side. You could bring him on. Fantastic. I'm not seeing it as a big problem, but I'm not seeing it as a big benefit at the same time.
No, that's
all to be confirmed, because if he plays an FA Cup against Wrexham and against Bournemouth in the Europa League like that, then he is making a contribution. So it kind of depends. I think if we don't see him again this season in any other game, then I would say, do you know what? That was a bit of a loose maneuver there about bringing him on. I'd have to agree with the kind of people who are saying it's a negative, because I then don't think there's any positive from it. But if we start seeing him play against Wrexham in the FA Cup or against some farmers in fucking Afghanistan, bruv, in the Europa League, then you know what I mean. Then you're saying that he is bringing through and he is developing and introducing a youth into just like we have with Smith Rowe and Saka and all them, man. You know what I mean?
But you got too many youngsters. This is the reason why Arsenal don't need more youngsters. They actually need more experienced footballers, like a Jesus, like these sorts of dons. They don't need more youngsters. And this is the thing.
Jesus is not exactly old, is he? Like, he's got experience, but he's still young, ain't he?
Experience, like proven experience to help them drag them into top four. The reason why they didn't get into top four last season is because of a lack of experience. Really, ultimately, that's what
the only reason why those two teenagers were on the bench is because we've got like 4 or 5 players out. So
another
that's what
thing
I'm
I
saying.
find mad as well. Yeah, this guy was brought on.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I was quickly say he was brought on in the last dying minutes
of the game. I think that's
when
why
you're already winning. It's mad.
That's
what benefits for the player? What benefits for the player for that reason?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
2-3
at
minutes,
that point there, I kind of agreed with the business aspect that obviously it puts them in a better position if there is a need for negotiation through a compensation route. That's the only thing. Like I say, I don't think it was things like say come on in the 91st minute. So I don't think it was for
a bit of business and a reward for the hard work that he's done and how he's looked at training. It's a bit of both.
And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Just on the flip side, it's good for the youngster as well, because now he's got a bargaining chip against them. Forget what it says. He's got a bargaining chip against them too.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So I think in overall it works for all. Like I don't see a problem with it. I wish the young boy the best because, like I say, it could be a talent that we go on to enjoy, actually getting to watch. But on to the next one, we've got, as per G, is Lampard turning it around. Do have his league stats here.
Yeah, right. OTC
He,
is loving this, bruv.
it is. We're not going to spend long on this one because I don't think
No,
there's much to
it's
talk about. But it feeds in nicely to my next subject. Lampard does anyway. So as we can see, he's shored up the defense so far this season.
Mhm.
He's won one game. He's drawn a lot. So I still think, and bearing in mind, I think two of these draws were from winning positions that they've obviously got on to thing. They've not looked bad in a lot of these games. Like I think the Liverpool game was very open on both ends. The Chelsea game was a very poor watch. That game was just terrible, and
It was. It,
you
it.
could
I can't lie. From
argue they
Everton
deserved a
perspective, it
bit.
was.
They
From
deserved
Everton
something.
perspective, that was a good performance. I can't
That's
lie.
what I'm saying.
They did
You
what
could
they had to do.
argue.
boys. The reason why I brought it up in the chat is because I think pretty much all of
We
us
did
had
say it.
Everton to go down, right? Like, because we're just like they're shipping goals and Lampard's. I'm still not convinced on him. But
I know.
the difference for
I
me
do
is I will
agree.
give credit where credit's due. Oz, what
We
are you
have
doing,
seen
bro? Like,
Lampard's,
Oh, sorry.
spanking up the kitchen, bro.
I
Yeah.
don't. I
The,
don't. I
the,
don't.
let me
It's a difficult
let me
one.
finish. The
Go
point I
for it.
will make is I will give if I'm seeing something with my own eyes over a 4 or 5 game period, then I will say, look, I can see something different here. Like they brought in Connor Cody, they've looked more resolute, they've changed the way they play. They're not just shipping like 3, 4 goals every week, like and looking like a light touch. So I'm just
I do
saying,
see against
over the games
stability.
that I've watched recently, he is changing something to give him credit. Whereas
No,
I see Gerard, where I'm not seeing him change it up. I'm just seeing the same thing over and over and over again, and hoping for a different outcome. Whereas I think where I would say about Lampard with Everton is I can see him doing something different. You understand? And that is trying to grind out, be hard to beat. As much as it's not a great watch, and I don't want to watch Everton, I'm just saying I can see something different. And I think that's the key thing. Like, with Bournemouth, we're all like, oh, they're definitely going down. They're getting spanked 9-0, 5-0. Look, Scott Parker's gone. They won 2 games in a row. They beat Newcastle. And who else they beat? They beat, I don't know I can't remember what it is. So
No, it weren't Leeds. Was it
Yeah,
Bournemouth? No,
they,
Brentford.
they drew with Newcastle, didn't they?
Was it
I
Brentford they
know.
beat?
All I know is since what do you call it? Scott Parker went where they were getting spun 5-0, 9-0 every week. Like that, if a
I
manager
do
can,
feel that 9-0 would have happened with anyone. I think Liverpool was on that day. Liverpool was on their job that day. I
yeah,
kind of felt sorry
maybe
for
yeah.
the team where Liverpool really turned up against. I felt sorry for because that was
Yeah.
one game where Liverpool just had everything clicking.
They had to respond in that game, and they did.
Yeah, maybe. But the point I'm trying to make is, when I'm looking at a manager, if it isn't working, change it, bruv, innit? Do something. Like sometimes with Klopp, where I get frustrated is he'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like, that time when they had a few injuries and they lost like 6 games in a row at Anfield, like, not only me, a lot of Liverpool fans are saying, do something different, bruv, innit? Like,
Remember the
what's that, bro?
defeat? Was it Burnley? Didn't he blame the wind?
Yeah, then it's like, listen, you are the manager. Do something different. Trying to change it up. So Lampard, we're all bantering him. Me and probably the most out of anyone. Yeah, saying, look, the guy's a fraud and blah 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 blah. But the point I'm trying to make is, what's the word? Humble enough to say, if someone changes something and I can see it where they're hard to kind of beat every week, then I will say, look,
100%
fair play.
The one thing I will say on them is that they are conceding less goals, but is it him on the training pitch, or is it the fact that he's got Tarkowski and Connor Cody playing in the back three?
Because I think he's shot up the defense. He's got better defenders in.
Because I think like Tarkowski, I don't really rate Connor Cody myself, but I think Tarkowski. Tarkowski he's done bits, and I did say that wherever he went, he'd be a
I
good
was
signing.
surprised
Depending,
a few bigger teams didn't go for him, considering he was a
it's
free.
it's not fashionable, is he? Like,
Nah,
let's
but
be real.
But it was a good
Yeah.
signing, boys. And Connor Cody, as much as I agreed, I'm with you. I don't rate him, but apparently, if you look at what everyone's saying in the
He's got that
dressing room, he's like a leader, bruv. He's
I
like,
like Con.
you know, like
I
kind
like
of doing
Cody.
that
He
team
was
where
No,
you kind of.
yeah. As a leader, yeah, he's a good.
I'm saying. I
captain,
think
but
he's got those leader
yeah,
qualities.
as a
Yeah.
player, I wouldn't rate him. But
I don't either,
think
bruv. I agree.
I think I wouldn't I wouldn't give credit too much just because he's got Connor Cody he's better than what he had per se, and considering like obviously Godfrey and considering Godfrey, is he injured? I believe he's in.
More or less.
Yeah, so obviously, technically speaking, the best defender at the time was out injured for the rest of the season because he got
That
injured
can't
against.
stupid refereeing too. That injury.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
comment on that one.
last year, boys, like Everton that's the team you want to play. They're just shipping goals for fun. You just slice them open, brother. You know,
Well,
like they were just a light touch. And it's a very small sample size. Don't get me wrong. It's fucking,
no,
4 or 5 games.
But the issue you have is like, okay, Pickford's played a little bit better this season, but Pickford, a lot of their goals are caused by him and his stupidity and his lack of like doing the sensible thing, like. He passes the ball to opposition or he just doesn't save the ball where he should do. And it's just madness. Like, when you got a goalkeeper like that, at some point, you are going to concede simply goals. I just think at the moment, he hasn't played the last 3 games either. So I think that it's not a coincidence. Yeah, it's not a coincidence that their defense is better and he's not playing. I don't think
Maybe
that's
it, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence. And with that, obviously, you mentioned Villa. I think Villa have been unlucky to a certain degree. Yeah, Mings does do some stupid stuff. Like Mings, I don't like him. I think he's poor. But Villa have been unlucky in some situations. I look at the Man City game as a prime example where they had a goal which was clearly a goal. It gets chalked off for no reason. And that's the difference between getting a point and actually being on like 8 points rather than being on 7 points. And come the end of the season, that could be the difference between getting relegated and actually staying up. Once again,
that's true. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of Villa. I watched their game last week because it was the only game on telly against Southampton. It was a massive game for them. They won it 1-0, but they've
been unfortunate in some games, though.
Bad,
They've
played some good football, but I just think they haven't.
For me, I think they'll be better. I think they'll get better. But just because if you look at,
they've got better players, haven't they? They've got better players.
Take away Tyrone Mings. I think their team is better than a lot of teams in the bottom half of the table, and I think they'll slowly pick up. And I like
a better manager would get Villa playing better football, bro. Like they've got players, man.
I think they ain't got the goal scorers though. They've not got the goal
witnessed
scorers.
when we played.
Watkins and
Watkins is shocking, bro.
No, it is. I noticed when we played them, it was similar to like Man United, the game against Man United last day of the season. A lot of the players seemed to be in conflict with each other. Like there was a lot of arguing on the pitch amongst each other. So I think when we scored our second, I think it was, like even some of the decisions in between, like the tackles and them not picking each other up, you could just see them arguing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't feel like a team at times when I was
watching them. Not a team. I can tell you why.
This is Everton.
I can tell you why. Just because, obviously, sorry, OTC. Just because Joe had changed the captain, right? At the beginning of the season, it's gone from Mings to someone else.
McGinn,
right? It's got to McGinn, right? Obviously, it's going to cause conflict. I don't care what anyone says. They could put on the show of, oh yeah, everything's okay.
Agreed.
No, everything's not okay. Because
I didn't blame Gerrard for doing that. Though.
I understand why he dropped him as captain, because at the end of the day, okay, all the off-field stuff is all cool, but you're not leading on the pitch. So at that point, you have to make a choice. It's like with Man United Maguire. Like, we have a strict Maguire, yeah, but he might as well not be captain. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to pull the trigger and get over and done with. And obviously, Joe has done it. I don't blame him. And obviously, you can see this internal fighting because obviously certain men are going to back Mings, certain men are going to back McGinn. Like, it's natural. Because obviously, there's always going to be cliques in clubs. There's this rule. I don't care how friendly you can be, there's going to be cliques. So people are going to be upset, and it's caused conflict. Clearly.
Yeah. But Dad, on Everton,
yeah,
for me, I was very, very reluctant. Yeah, and you see me like, if Lampard is a rubbish coach and it turns out to be a rubbish coach, so be it. But I am very reluctant in criticizing Lampard, knowing that the clubs that he's worked for have been difficult circumstances. He literally went into Chelsea where they had where they had a transfer ban, and arguably, probably looking back at it, probably one of the poorest squads that we've had in a while, probably ever. To be
Okay.
fair, like it was the poorest. Yeah, it was
I had,
arguably one
I
of the
had, I had, I had that, but there was no pressure until we had the transfer budget, right?
no, but
Because
if,
Yeah,
it's just,
they
it's
only
just,
spent
it's,
250 and they were bad, man. But
it's just a
yeah,
case of
Miles, is it
it's
one and
just
a
a
half
case.
hours we get our recording time, innit? I don't
No,
want. I don't want to.
no, I've got loads in
I
there.
yeah,
thought it normally cuts off, so I don't want to like spend.
Oh no,
Half an hour at
yeah.
I
Lampard,
normally
bruv.
cut it. I was gonna say we'll move
Yeah.
on in a second.
But in regards to Lampard, for me, I I want to give him more chance in terms of Everton. I think Everton are a poorly run club. Derby are in administration. Chelsea were
Yeah,
all over
but
the place.
when
I
he,
want to
but
give
when he
give him the
was,
benefit of the doubt. He never
no,
came into a club
I hear what you're
everything around
saying.
him is functioning.
I
So
hear
I
what you're
think
saying, but at the time when he was at Derby, he was spending cash. Hence why he was bringing in players on loan. Mate. Like it's not like it
He
wasn't.
should
It
he
wasn't.
should
he
have got
wasn't.
that team
The,
promoted.
the main point I wanted
Right,
to make
he
is
should
I
have got
think
them
Gerrard
promoted.
might go. I used to think, I thought Lampard would go for Gerrard. Now I think it might be
The
other
only
way
way,
around.
the only way Joe is leaving if he decides to leave. Personally,
So
I don't think he'll get. I don't think he'll get sacked. I think he'll walk if
right,
he
we'll
was to go.
quickly move it to the England team, but I've got a point
Yeah.
that's going to tie in with Lampard in a second. So
Yeah.
the England team selection, because we all know OTC in the group chat was dying on this hill by himself. So
Okay.
we look at this squad. Let's just dissect it. We already know Calvin Phillips has dropped out, and I believe someone else has dropped it, or did Henderson come in to replace Calvin Phillips
Henderson
Henderson's
came
coming.
to replace. Yeah.
to
Oh,
replace?
can we go by player by player?
The other Henderson came in to replace Pickford. I think. I don't think was Pickford
No,
selected. and not-
Pickford wasn't picked,
wasn't.
but one of the things I saw was it was showing him as like he was selected for the team, but he actually wasn't when I actually looked back at it. So looking at this team, like I'm sorry, there's like a few players in here who I personally don't feel should be in here. OTC
Okay.
has different opinions. Like I don't
Okay,
think
can we-
Maguire, Shaw. I wouldn't have picked Calvin Phillips, and
So, Muller, just to cut you,
Yep.
are we able to go player by player, just to see
Yeah.
that?
yeah, I don't mind. We got
Yeah.
time. We got,
Yeah.
still got like 40 hours in the thing for this.
So, okay, let's start with Dean Henderson. Who actually believes that this guy actually should be in the squad? Because are we going because he's the only one who's actually like one of the three goalkeepers who's actually playing
You know what?
at the moment? Or
I'll be honest.
Are we going by form? Because we're going by form, he should be picked.
On the selection of goalkeepers that they've picked, based on so far for what's been picked, I have no problem really with the three goalkeepers as such.
I agree.
Because
Okay.
I
Like, for
personally,
me-
Nick
Yeah,
Pope would be my number one to start
Like,
these games.
Yeah, for me personally, there's no one else to pick from. That's the issue. Because when you're gonna be realistic, yeah, okay, you're gonna pick Ramsdale, yeah, cool, yeah. He's at the team, yeah, who's on top of the table, cool. I don't
He's going to be
particularly
the one that gets in ahead of
Yeah.
Henderson. I don't.
obviously Pope. I could understand because he has actually been playing well. I don't think he's been the best English goalkeeper this season for me.
I
And-
rated him even when he last season. I rated.
Yeah, and Henderson's only getting picked because there's no one else. Like, let's be real. This guy's been making header mistakes. He's got the worst pass completion rate in the league as a goalkeeper, considering that people criticize De Gea and he's actually passing the ball better than Henderson.
It might be the penalty
So-
saves. I don't know what really got him. Like I
Yeah.
say again, it's
Yeah,
a thin bunch.
I've got no problem with goalkeepers. If you're not like if Pickford is unavailable, pick those
Yeah,
three.
but-
I got beef.
I hear
because
that, but
really,
then-
actually, there's not really one out like person.
Pope.
No, I'm talking about no. Let me finish that. There's not one person other than outside of Pope and Ramsdale screaming ahead of Dean Henderson. Really and truly, there's not one they say. Oh yeah,
I'd have Pope as my number one. That's just my personal opinion.
Pope's number one without question. It has to
So
be.
then we'll look at the defenders. We got Trent, Chilwell, Cody, Dyer, Gay, James, Maguire, Shaw, Stones, Tomori, Trippier, Walker. Now, again, Tomori deserves his call up.
Yeah.
Again, I personally don't think Maguire and Shaw should be there, main only because they're not playing. And I remember saying in the
But you said
preseason,
you would have to say the same about Chilwell.
no, but I'm saying Chilwell started playing now, but I would still probably drop him. Because even from the get go, I said I would, based on playing, I said I would have had Thingy in for left back. Tyreek Mitchell was who I said I would have taken only because he's playing games.
I would
And,
personally take Target instead. So I would
Yeah,
take Target.
you can even take Target.
Yeah.
Like, there's not even a problem with him. But then, like I say, Tomori deserves his shot.
Oh, definitely.
Like I say, Maguire
The
and
biggest,
Shaw.
the
I said
biggest
remember pre-season, I said Shaw wouldn't be in the team. Once Malacia gets in,
yeah,
Malacia
he
is
would
going
have
to
been.
replace
Yeah,
him.
that's a no-brainer. Like,
I think Tomori was in the team.
No, I'm saying Tomori deserves his spot.
I think Tomori was he not in the last one? So I think Tomori is actually a fully
Yeah,
fledged
but
England player. I
wouldn't say
at
so
risk of.
because I wouldn't say so just because if you really deep it, yeah, he's only getting picked now. Like he's been called to be in the squad here for ages now. Like he's clearly one of the best English defenders, like by far. He's doing it on a European stage. It's not like he's just like, oh yeah, he's played okay for, like, I don't know, just say for argument's sake, he's played okay for Leicester. Like he's played okay for Leicester. No, he's at AC Milan doing bits week in, week out. He just won the Italian league. Like no problem. He's doing that at Champions League level. You know, for me,
I don't think I didn't hear that, blood. Don't think I didn't hear you sneak Arsenal in there like that, dude.
I never said Arsenal.
You just said, don't think he's playing for Arsenal or Leicester or something like
that. That was for me. I said Leicester. OTC said Arsenal.
Don't think I didn't hear that shit, boys.
Man, put that camera on real quick.
I never said Arsenal. OTC, own up to your nonsense, man. You said Arsenal. I never said Arsenal.
You know it is. I can see one other player breaking into that team if they have a good season, though. Justin James. If Justin James, obviously he's at Leicester, so I'm not thinking for the World Cup. I don't think he's going to go to the World Cup. I don't think he's got enough time, but he is someone that I can see in the next 12 to 18 months breaking into the England team.
How old is he?
Depending on,
as you boys know, yeah, I'm a big. I love football and I love international football as well. Like, as you know, I go to the England games and stuff like that. But Southgate, no matter. He's just going to waste.
Don't worry. We've got something. Let's just dissect the England.
You're a Germany fan, rude boy. You want us to do shit, bro.
Wait, hold on, Gary. Let's talk about the defenders.
Like, James, I don't think he gets in. Just because if you look at the right position, yeah, it's like, okay, Walker and Trippier, yeah, at some point they are going to retire the next.
Wait, Reece James or Justin James?
He's talking about Justin James. Yeah. But point is, yeah, at the moment he's taking 4 right backs, yeah, for some whatever dumb.
I don't know why there's more right.
Once those 2 right backs retire in Trippier Walker, it's gonna just be Reece James and Trent. They ain't gonna be.
Plays 3 right backs for England. Southgate plays 3 right backs in the team, rude boy.
I can see.
Yeah, he plays 3 right backs because he's got no left back half the time.
I can see
Trent. He's fraudulent. That's why he's fraudulent.
I can see Trent doing what Kimmich done, and move further up.
Trent.
Why
I think he's probably going to move further up.
I don't think that happens.
I don't think it suits him, but I can probably see
that's the transition. He doesn't have the quality.
I just have a feeling that might be something that they try to push. Because at one point he was rated. People were saying he was better than Kimmich, and I'm just
like 4-4-3, man. Not this 6 in the back, 3 DMs, and Harry Kane up front. Is honestly
Trent's in a false position. Trent's a right wing back who's been told to play right back at Liverpool, but then when he goes to England, he's told to play right wing back, but he looks lost. It's mad.
No, he does. That's what I'm saying. I can some point see them moving him forward and leaving him forward. And for me, it doesn't make no sense.
Listen, England got too much quality in midfield if they actually use it.
But then look at the midfield that they've taken, though, which is something that kind of.
Wait, let me talk about the 2 defenders, Maguire and Shaw, right? Before we get into the midfield.
No, don't, man.
We've seen it in the group chat.
Don't do this on live YouTube.
Let me justify it now. Hear me out.
Honestly, you're going to regret this.
No. Justify. You can't justify it.
But let's just let him land it, and
Let me hear me out. If you disagree, You disagree, fam?
We already disagree.
Okay.
Go back to Turkey. Stay there, bro. Go there and stay there, bro.
For me, yeah.
This Maguire and Shaw, are you mad, bro? Anyway,
No,
you
no,
do
no,
it.
no.
If you want to do it, you go ahead.
Let me talk. Let me talk. Okay. In terms of Maguire and Luke Shaw, for me, I look at it like there's players that play better for international than they do for club, irrespective of club form. And I will say this, I think before the Euros, Sterling. Sterling was one that I was shouting from the real rooftops. Nah, he don't even play for Man City. He shouldn't be on the plane. They should have got that other brother that's a Rahman from the Man United squad here. You know what I'm talking about. We're not gonna mention his name. But I was saying, bring my man. You don't need to bring Sterling. He's dead. Look what he does. He misses stuff. Misses like open chances for Pep, and he plays on the bench. He's rubbish. Yeah. This guy went to the Euros and smashed and was the best England player. And what I'm saying is this, yeah, is that people, when I watch Maguire play for England, I watch Shaw play for England, and then I watch them play for Man United. They're two completely different players. And then when I watch in other countries, it's a very similar case. Granit Xhaka was playing rubbish for Arsenal at one point, and when you watch it for Switzerland, balling. When you Shaqiri for what's it called? I forgot where he's from as well, but you know what I'm talking about. Shaqiri will be on the bench. Switzerland, yeah. You see him on bench here for Liverpool. Don't even kick a ball. Gets on the pitch, and he's already tearing up. Every time we play Switzerland, I'm like, raw, like Shaqiri's the problem.
Yeah, but
Shaqiri,
that's a bad example though, because when he was coming on for Liverpool, he was doing best to a certain degree. The issue I have here with the whole Shaw and Maguire thing, yeah, is okay, they got picked, right? But it's not based on what they're actually doing. You're picking players here who are not playing, they're not fit, yeah. Now, this Nation League is very important. This is where people need to realize it's not a glorified friendly. This is where it affects qualification later on in the future. If
can I just say though,
they get relegated, it's a big issue.
Yeah, can I just say that?
He hardly said a thing. Come on, man. What you saying?
OTC has got a point though. Maguire and Luke Shaw have played for England previously and have done well. So surely that's got to
English
no
boy.
matter what.
English boy.
That makes no sense.
No, let him land. Let us learn.
Have you been playing for club?
That's
my issue.
No, but
let us learn. Come on, man. Talk your team, man. What you saying?
What I'm trying to say is, like, Maguire does bits for England. There's no two ways about it. There's none of you, man, who can deny that. Luke Shaw's done bits for England as well. Surely the way they've played previously for England gets them into this next squad. It can't not. You can't do. They're not playing for their team this season.
That's their
self. You said your thing. Now we're gonna fucking destroy you. So come on, Dan, you go first. Then it's my turn because this is. I'm gonna absolutely.
They're not playing. Like, how can you pick people who are not playing? You have to pick people on the basis that they're playing for their club and they're informed.
Sterling got paid for Pep. Sterling got paid for Pep a lot. Before he went to the Euros.
What did he get? 18 goals last season or whatever it was? Listen.
It was about that,
right.
Man. Just under 20.
Right. So he still scored goals for Pep, even though he was missing open goals. Now, the issue I have.
Short sleeve or long sleeve? We're going to execute you, man. Come on, Dan. Let's do it. Let's fucking execute them, bro.
Wasn't playing games. Mind you, Shaw's been out with a mystery injury. You know what the injury was?
Malacia.
He weren't getting picked. That was the injury, yeah. And then Maguire.
You know when they say mystery injuries, yeah? It's a madness. You know it's
He was out here with a Nando's loyalty card, blood. He's out here with a Nando's loyalty card.
He went missing, right? Why was that? Because he weren't getting picked.
You know, he came to training drunk. He came to training drunk.
We have to be real.
That's the injury.
How can we laugh at Maguire when he's at United and not playing games here because he's playing garbage? But then we're going to celebrate when he go and play for England. That makes no sense to me. He's not. He's
last time he played, didn't they boo him?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but what did he do? He played well. He played well.
So okay, so let's say let's put this out there. Yeah? Let's say he plays against Germany, yeah, and he has an absolute stinker because he's not fit, yeah, and he's out of form, yeah. What are we gonna do? What we're gonna say then? Like, we have to play players who are fit. We can't just play them just because they're of past achievements. That's mad.
Oh, it's
No, but he's played well against Germany.
let me go, Dan.
He's
Let
got
me go
track
now. Let me
record.
go.
He's
OTC
played well against Germany.
and Oz.
In the
Listen
Euros.
to what I'm
Are you
saying.
not,
Listen,
are
this
you
is
not got
sermon.
ambition or something? Have I
Bro,
got,
you
have you
see-
got ambition?
You're gonna hear a sermon,
it's not-
bruv. You
it's not-
cannot. Harry Maguire is not a good defender, bro. Like the reason why we play 5 at the back and 4 DMs and like such a negative game is to hide him, bruv, in that defense. Why can't we be a progressive team? That England, I'm talking about England now. Plays a 4-4-3-3 or 4-4-3 if you're Todd Bowie, yeah. But let's play a 4-3-3, bruv. Be a progressive team. The reason why we don't is to hide Maguire in that 6 at the back and 3 DMs and 4 right backs. It's that football is dead, bruv. Every time we come up against a decent team. So in the World Cup, we got to the semi-finals, and I enjoyed it because you know me, I'm a big England fan. I've enjoyed every win I celebrated. Don't get me wrong. As soon as we come up against a good team, Croatia, it fell apart. In the Euros, Italy, we lost Italy in the finals. Italy haven't qualified for the World Cup, bruv. They haven't qualified for the World Cup in Qatar.
Again, that's 2 World Cups in a row, by the way.
That's not
Yeah,
because.
so-
yeah, but
so in the Euros-
was it because of Maguire?
Gee,
In
that's
fact,
not
no,
let me
World
ask,
Cups in the other country.
let me ask you a
Italy's,
better question.
no, let me land, then you can reply, innit? So
All right,
what I'm
go for
saying
it.
is, if the reason why we play 5 at the back is because Maguire's not good enough to be in a back 4. Why
I can
the
testify.
hell-
I disagree.
Listen,
I
I can
disagree.
testify to that.
No.
Why do you think Oddy, changed his formation to a 5 at certain points in the season? Because Maguire was
Ollie's
getting
tap.
overrun.
Ollie's tap, bro. He's
Mate,
tapped.
don't
Ollie's
talk
tapped.
nonsense. Don't talk nonsense.
Ollie's-
Don't
Look
talk
at Man
nonsense.
He
United.
didn't know what he was doing.
Man United,
He
ever
didn't know what
since
he
they
was
dropped
doing.
Maguire, look at ever since they dropped Maguire, now they've got the Martinez and Varane. They look so much more solid at the back, bro.
Remember, Martinez is a leprechaun and he's not good enough, right? And he's doing better than Maguire. So what are we saying?
Maguire is washed.
Yeah,
OTC
but
Oz,
Martinez is
Maguire
not
is
English.
washed, bro.
No.
We need to move forward.
This last Maguire.
Okay.
Before we
Oh,
move
Listen
okay.
to me. Listen to
Let-
me.
let-
When
let-
Maguire scores on Friday, yeah, don't none of you man celebrate, yeah. Don't you
I'm
be celebrating,
not.
G.
I'm not.
Don't.
Mate, I won't be
I
We
said,
just got
I'm-
spun
Really?
home and
I
away
won't
by
be-
Hungary. We just
Mate.
got spun home and away by Hungary. If we don't beat Italy and Germany, both of them, we're going to be in pot
Relegation.
2 in the next Euros. If we don't beat
And
both of them.
you know how hard does pot 2? We might not even be in pot 2.
If we don't, we have to beat
guys.
both Italy. It's got so bad. We have to beat Italy and Germany to not be in pot 2 in the Euros, bruv. So
Wait,
that's where we
OTC,
are.
Let me ask.
OTC,
Hold on. Let me ask you one
OTC,
question. Let me ask you not. Wait. Let me ask you not one question. Yeah. One question. What centre back, other than John Stones, other than John
Tomori.
Stones,
Tomori.
no. Let me ask you one
Tomori.
question. That other John Stones, who's actually played better than Harry Maguire for England. Talk. There you go.
Gay,
No.
he only had 1 cap, but he played solid in that game.
He
Wait,
has
hold up.
a-
When he
no.
put next to Maguire, who kind of looked shaky.
If
against
Maguire
Italy.
plays every game, that's a null and void point, isn't it? You're saying who's played
Wait.
better than him, but he plays every game, bruv. So
Okay. On current form,
OTC, do you honestly rate Maguire? Oz and OTC, just answer me one question.
If I'm having an England squad,
No.
No, England team,
Harry
no,
Maguire-
not a squad, a team.
in my team,
The World Cup starting next month.
Right now,
I need to see tomorrow. I need to see tomorrow.
Bro, we're talking
tomorrow
about
does
England
better
here. We're
than
not talking about a team still.
Yeah.
We're not talking about. We're not talking. Exactly, bro. I think
Before we
you
change the point,
lot are
before we
counting up
change
your
the-
judgment.
Okay, so Italy on Friday. We're playing Italy on Friday.
Who's
Oz,
your team?
OTC, are you starting Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw?
He is. He's already told us. he is.
Luke Shaw. I don't even know if he's fit. Is Luke Shaw even fit?
Wait.
And Oz, would you start Harry Maguire and
No.
Luke Shaw, bro?
I'll start.
No, I wouldn't.
For me,
No, I wouldn't.
And that's the point we're
for
making,
me,
bro. That's what
I-
we're saying.
You're not
I
gonna
would
pick him.
start-
Like, come on.
I would
You have to
start.
give him-
Honestly, if it was up to me, tomorrow I need to see. I haven't watched tomorrow in Italy, so I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched tomorrow in Italy.
Mate, I'm telling you now,
What?
yeah.
I'm not lying. Am I lying?
I'm
What part
telling you,
am I saying that's wrong?
I'm telling you now, yeah. If Tomori and John Stones is not your starting centre backs in that game, yeah, there's something wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm wary
this
about
point
that
disgusts me.
centre-back
Can we just move on to the midfield? Because I can't.
Yeah, let's go on
Yeah.
midfield.
This.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Mason Mount, 0 goals, 0 assists.
Oh, here we
He's
go.
his love
Back-
child. He's Southgate's love child.
So we've
Wow.
got Henderson that's coming for Calvin Phillips.
Mate,
And
the midfield's
Declan
horrendous.
Rice,
It's horrendous. It's
Ward-Prowse,
horrendous.
and Bellingham. I don't.
The only place you're getting goals here, let's be realistic here, the only place you're getting goals here is probably Bellingham if he's allowed to do what he does. If he's allowed to do what he does.
It's got to be Bellingham and Rice, isn't it, bruv? It's got to be those two in the midfield.
Wait. Say that again. The only place you're getting goals is Bellingham. Are you, bruv?
Out of that midfield selection that he's put, I would say those two are probably.
Don't forget about Ward-Prowse, bruv. You can bang in a free kick, fam.
He can, but I don't see him starting. I think he'll come off the bench.
You have to be realistic. Yeah, is Ward-Prowse good? Yes, I like him, but he's not starting for England. You have to be realistic. He's a squad player. Yeah. So
who would you play him then, Oz? If you play Ward-Prowse, would you drop Bellingham or Rice? Which one would you drop for Ward-Prowse?
I'd have to say Rice at the moment. It have to be
you
Rice.
Play no holding midfielder. You just play Ward-Prowse.
Wait, so you're gonna ask Bellingham to do the holding role then, essentially, and then that's gonna restrict him from his best attributes.
Nah, I wouldn't.
It's a bit of a mad one.
Exactly. So it's Rice and Bellingham, innit?
You have to pay Rice. As much as Rice is not on form at the moment, unfortunately, England don't have a great choice of DMs. Let's be real.
The annoying thing is Southgate. He normally plays two DMs. He normally plays Calvin Phillips, and Rice.
So that means
I'm just hoping he might do Bellingham and Rice just to kind of mix it up. But normally he plays two, bruv. He normally plays two
to protect Maguire. That's the whole point.
And who sits in the back five? So we've got a back five and we've got two DMs. Stinks. The whole thing stinks, bruv. Honestly.
No. Okay, on the midfield, for me, on the midfielder, sorry, because Phillips is injured. For me, if it was up to me, I would have stopped 3 midfielders going forward in general, not only for this Nations League, for the.
It's not. He does 5 at the back, bruv. There's only 2, so pick the 2, innit? Because he does 5 at the back, Southgate.
I think it's got to be you got.
It's gonna be 2.
You got to be 3 midfielders. That's why we lost to it. That's part of the reason why we lost to Italy as well.
That's what we've been saying. OTC. He's high. He plays 5 at the back. That's why we don't want to see 5 at the back.
No, you're putting it down to defensive football.
But that's what he plays.
But that's not why we lost to Italy, because it was a 2-man midfield against a 3-man experienced Italy team.
Exactly, because he plays 5 at the back, OTC. Because he plays 5 at the back, there's only 2 in the midfield and then 3 forwards. Do you understand?
I thought the reason we played to Italy is because we played defensive football. After we scored, we started defending instead of attacking. I thought that's the reason.
Yeah, but OTC, you're an England fan like me. You must know there's 5 at the back, 2 in the middle, Rice and Phillips, and he plays a front 3. You must know that, bro.
He switches it up. He goes 4, then he goes 5, but it's all over the place. We look shaky with the 4.
What do you mean? He doesn't
1 second.
really
So should we discuss the attacking options then?
Yeah.
I think it's a no-brainer with the attacking options.
With attacking, we got Abraham, Bowen, Foden, Grealish, Kane, Saka, Sterling, Tony.
I like the attack.
Let's be real, yeah. Let's be real, yeah.
Well, we know Kane's starting, so that's
it's a shambles, yeah. But Sancho's not in the squad. Like personally,
no, it's not.
Of course it is. Sancho's
over who?
Boy, I'm just saying, if Maguire and Shaw can get in and they're not playing, why can Sancho not get in?
Because Maguire and Shaw have actually played well for England. When I watch Sancho for England, he's a shell of himself. He's a shell of himself. Have you seen? Okay, Bulla, have you actually seen a great performance from Jadon Sancho in an England shirt?
Just out of curiosity, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really watch England like that.
Put the names up.
Gary, let me ask Gary. Have you seen a great performance from
to be honest, yeah, like the difference is OTC. I think you're like we can agree to disagree. I think you very much are basing your starting 11 on who's delivered for England, whereas I think a lot of other people are saying, well, yeah, we understand that, but they need to be on form. Like you can't just pick players who are not playing for their club or who are in woeful form. That's my thing. I think that's where there needs to be a balance, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? I understand having loyalty to players who play well for you, but if they're not playing well for their club or they're not playing for their club, it makes it very hard to then say, right, I'm going to put them in the team, bro. You understand?
You shouldn't be picked. If you're not performing, you shouldn't be picked.
Remember, that's what Southgate said when he come in. It's going to be based on form, not reputation, and he backtrack and it's form reputation.
Don't believe what he says.
He's
the team back up.
Yeah. So right, okay. Look at this. Yeah, the players who can play in the same position, yeah, as Central, who's actually done better this season. Bowen, does he deserve to be ahead of Central? There's no way.
Bowen has had a shocker. Mount's had a shocker. Calvin Phillips had a shocker. Maguire's had a
Grealish hasn't
shocker.
really been getting
Shaw's had a
games.
shocker.
So
Like,
you
so
look.
that's what
You
I'm
look.
saying. He
So you look
clearly
at.
has
You look.
now
Saka and
lined. He's
Sterling
made
are
his
the only
bed.
two in that.
So
He's made his bed to say, I'm going to pick players who are low, you know.
If you look at the attackers, Bowen
Yeah.
shouldn't be ahead of him. Foden, he's done okay, but he shouldn't be ahead of Sancho.
Nah,
Grealish shouldn't be ahead of Sancho. Like,
nah,
what?
bruv.
Grealish isn't playing like that.
Like,
Nah,
there's no way.
I completely disagree.
We were talking about
Bearing in mind, this is
current
coming
form.
from
We're
someone
talking
that
about
doesn't
current
support
form.
England like that. And
Mate,
I don't
Nah,
support
mate,
England
we're
like
talk-
that. And I don't
Let's
like.
be honest, he's playing Harry Kane, Sterling, and Foden. I'm telling you, that's the front three that he's going to play against.
I don't think he is.
I'll play
I think
Saka.
Grealish is
I'll
playing
play
the six.
Saka to the
I
Foden.
think
But
Grealish is
that's
playing the six.
personal preference.
No. Grealish is the.
I think
the
he'll play
left
Saka
sided.
against Germany. I think he'll play Foden against Italy, but Saka against Germany.
I think Grealish is a star. That's not the truth. And if Grealish starts, Shaka and
Southgate doesn't really like Grealish though, bro, innit? That's what we were all kind of moaning about last year.
But he does now, and he's not playing well. Have you not noticed the pattern? He's picking
Well,
him now.
he was kind of bullied into playing him because we're all like, play him, bro, innit? Play him, and you know.
But he's playing him in the wrong position. Like, if you're gonna play him, personally, if you're gonna play Grealish, play him in the 10. I don't. The reason why I say that is because
but England don't have a 10. That's the thing that annoys me. D. We play 5 at the back and we play 2 holding midfielders. And there's a front 3 that's so isolated.
I totally agree with you. But if you're gonna play him, you have to play him in the 10. I said the same thing with Man City. If you're gonna play him, play him in the 10 or 8.
Play a 4-3-3 and play Grealish in the sausage roll, bruv, in the hole, bruv. Play him there.
Because the problem you have with Grealish is like when he was at Villa, everything goes through him, and he drifts inside and he does a madness, right? At Man City, everything doesn't go through him. So the problem he has is he needs to get on the ball. The best way to get him on the ball and he's effective for the team, play him in a 10 or 8. I'm telling you.
You know what, D? I agree with you what you say about Grealish. The only thing I would say is, in kind of being fair to him, is that a lot of players, when they go to Man City, they do take sometimes a year to adjust because it's a very specific system. Pep gives players very specific requirements. And so sometimes it does take them a year. So, but what I would agree with you, if he flops this year, then he needs to be pulled out.
Now we discussed the England team, can I bring it back to Lampard quickly?
Go on.
So I see a report, like I think it was by now when I was setting up all like the things for the show. I saw this report, this headline: Everton manager Frank Lampard name dropped if England need Gareth Southgate replacement post World Cup.
That's shocking.
I saw that and I thought,
what did he say?
I don't get, based on what we've seen so far, how the first name picked out as a potential replacement is Frank Lampard to manage England.
Yeah, but
based on what we've seen,
that's a good.
I wanted Potter.
No, but I'm saying,
how long have I been saying to you boys? I wanted Potter to be England manager.
I can tell you why. It's not good, but I can tell you why.
But like I'd say, it was a weird one to see a kind of headline like that. Irregardless whether it's true or not, it's just see like, why would you pick Frank Lampard?
I'll tell you why. One, he's an England legend. Yeah, as much as I don't think he's a legend because England didn't really do much with him in the midfield. 2, unfortunately, he's probably the only English manager available because let's be real, Eddie Howe's not going to get sacked anytime soon. Unless Potter has an absolute shocker, he ain't going to get sacked. So it's going to cost England a lot of money to get them out of contract. At that point, that leaves what? Lampard, Gerrard, and who else? Unless you're going foreign. Who else is there?
Unless you go foreign. No.
Like, unless you're going to bring Roy Hodgson out of retirement.
Oh, Scott Parker, people like that. Scott,
this is my point. Like, Parker don't count. Like, so,
I reckon England can hold tight and wait for Potter to get sacked, rude boy.
So this is the problem. Like, there's literally no options unless they're gonna go foreign and go. Okay,
don't shake your head, OGC. Who said Tuchel's getting sacked? There's only one person here who said it on this pod.
I give that. G did call that before any of us.
Called it, bruv. Chelsea are a team that it's about results. They don't accept second best, rude boy. You understand? It's not gonna, when you spend 280 million in the summer, they're not going to. Potter finishes 5th. He's done out here, bruv. You understand? So,
Yeah.
You must
be
know
fair-
that, surely, as a Chelsea
be-
fan.
Let's talk about
to-
Frank Lampard. If I talk about Tuchel, I'm gonna go for one. But let's talk
He
about
needs to start
Frank
crying
Lampard.
again,
Yeah.
man.
No, I'm talking about Potter becoming available, who I would like to see be the England manager.
I thought he
Nah.
would have
I
been
don't-
a good
I don't
shout
think-
being the manager.
Nah.
But
I don't, to be quite honest, I don't think any of them are good enough to take England forward. To be
But
quite
then I
honest.
think the case is you need someone that's wanting. That's why Gareth Southgate was a perfect fit because he doesn't have the interest in club management. So I think international management was probably better suited for him.
Where I'll give
Sounds
Southgate credit, as much as I don't like his football, is he's brought a kind of mentality and a spirit back to the England team,
Seems like
which
a
I think was lacking. So I will give him credit for that. I really will.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, he got
that's
to a semi-final and a final. So you need something to, that's not what's the
I
word?
hear
It's not, it's not a complete flop, bruv. So I think he has brought that back. But
I hear
I hate
that.
the
But
football. I hate that.
the issue is right when he's got into these positions and in the semi where he lost to Croatia and in the final he took the lead on both occasions, no, and then it went downhill because he decided to play fossil
switch is
football.
quick defensive.
Like it's unnecessary.
No.
Like, if you're-
No. On that point, let me explain. Let me explain that.
Let me land before you jump in. Like
Yeah.
the facts are clear. He takes the lead and then he decides, oh, I'm gonna play defensive football before. Like I could understand if it was like he took the lead in the 80th minute and he was to close up and say, you know what, try and beat us. Mate, you take the lead in the first 10 minutes, and I'm sure he did that against Croatia as well. He took the lead in the first like 10, 15 minutes or whatever.
Trippier free kick is what it was. I
Right.
remember.
Yeah,
Trippier
exactly.
free kick. Yeah.
Exactly, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to defend. No way. Like, you
No.
have to continue playing the way you're playing because you're dominating the game. You can't just say to a team, okay, we've got the goal now. We're just going to sit there. And, come on, you're playing against players like Croatia, for instance, Modric. Like,
but that-
players who know how to manipulate the ball. What
I
do you
hear
think's
you.
going to happen?
I hear you.
Like,
I hear
come
you.
on.
But let me land this one. Yeah. I don't think the reason why, and I understand your point. The reason why you think that is because we were 1-0 down, we play a different defense, a different style of football, and we end up conceding goals. The reason why we concede goals is not the style of football. The reason why we concede goals, for me, or the reason why we lost those finals or those big games, is pure tactics. If we done it the other way around, it would have still been the same result. If we played defensive football and then started all of a sudden got all out attack, it would still be because Gareth Southgate is a poor tactician overall. Defensive football is not the reason why we lost because defensive football, if that's the reason why we lost, then if by what you're saying is that if Jose Mourinho was in charge of England, and we played a very similar style of football, we will also lose in the same way. That's not that. I just completely disagree with that because I watch Chelsea. Wait, let me land this. I watch Chelsea play defensive football on numerous occasions and win certain cups, FA Cups or Champions League or Europa League, etc. Play defensive football. Yeah, that's not the reason why we lost. It's because he got outclassed tactically and he made the decision to bring on substitutions in the 120 or 117th minute, to bring in three midfielders when Mancini was switching them around left, right, centre, changing formation, changing tactics midway through the game. That's a big difference. It's not defensive football.
You're missing something. He's playing defensive football for what? He is. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He is playing defensive football. Like, Southgate loves that. Playing five at the back, unless you got wing backs here, we actually are playing as wing backs. Shaw's not a wing back. Shaw's a left back being told to play like a wing back. Bloody here's the other one. Kieran Trippier is not a right wing back. He's a right back being told to play that position. When you're telling them to defend them, they don't have that natural instinct to say, okay, I am going to defend, but I'm also going to go forward. They're literally just going to sit there and literally not move.
You're describing setup and formation. Like you're talking about tactical.
Yeah, but that is just.
You got the money.
You're still telling the players. You're telling the players to defend.
What about Mancini? Mancini plays defensive football, and look what he done. I can't turn around and say Mancini, the style of football was the reason why Italy are so dead. I can't say that because they won the Euros.
Yeah, they won the Euros and they qualified for 2 World Cups in a row with the same manager. What is the point you're trying to make? They didn't qualify for 2 World Cups, mate, and they mugged off England in the final when England should have won. They had controlled the situation and
I love
decided,
these England
okay,
debates when you
I
don't
am
support
going
England.
to shut. I'm
More,
going to
you're a bit of a
literally,
pagan still.
I'm literally
Right,
going
I'm
to sit.
German Jamaican.
I'm literally going
I
to
was born
sit
in
here
England.
and not attack.
And
Literally,
Dutch as
and
well,
then,
yeah?
mate, you have
Huh?
to take
And
control.
Dutch as well, yeah?
You have to
Nah,
take control of the game.
that's for different reasons.
Yeah, and deal with the situation at hand. What's in front of you? If you're just gonna sit there and say, "Okay, play," and we're gonna hit you on a break and all this nonsense, mate, we might as well have Ollie as manager, mate. It's so wild. It's so
Could be the
similar.
next England manager, don't it?
It's
Imagine
so
that.
wild.
Nah.
It's unreal.
Or
It's
is
a
that your
similar.
will?
It's similar, mate. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, it's so
Nah.
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Why are you playing two DMs? What's
OTC,
the
man.
purpose?
Why?
Five at the
Your
back,
your
two
interpretation,
DMs.
your
I
your
can't
your
stand it.
What is the
interpretation.
purpose? What
No,
is the
no,
purpose
Dan,
of
no,
playing
Dan.
two
Your
DMs?
OTC, you
your
look upset.
Mate,
interpretation.
you're playing.
No.
Mate, you're playing a
OTC is
right.
getting vexed by the second,
You're playing
bro.
a right. You're playing a right back. Yeah.
He's about to
A
start
left
OTC's
backing
end
back.
up, fam.
to
Yeah.
revoke that
Three
passport,
centre
boy.
backs. Yeah.
Carl, so do you
Two
support
DMs.
Germany in the international
Yes.
tournaments? Yeah.
Two
Yes.
DMs. Two DMs. Yeah. Mason Mount. Yeah.
And then I
Who
follow
is
Jamaica as well. So
Mason Mount? Mason Mount. Yeah. Who is what? A
I'm
centre mid. Yeah.
Careful, careful,
an
man.
England fan. I'm
Mate,
born
Careful,
here,
Dan.
bro. I
Wait,
grew up in
Mount there,
London.
I'm
you know.
born here, but
Mount there
it's a
is a
weird
centre
one.
midfielder and an attacking attacking midfielder. Yeah, being told to play out wide. Yeah, so that once again, yeah, I don't understand that. Makes no sense to me.
So it's
Then-
tactical. That's
then you
that's the
got-
biggest.
then you-
That's the
then you-
downfall.
Then you got Harry Kane.
What about you,
Yeah.
Oz? Are you bothered about England or you're not? Or
You
what?
got you got Ha- you
I
got Harry
suppose
Kane.
Zimbabwe, innit? Zimbabwe
He's
team,
lying.
well
He's
done.
lying. He's lying.
You got Harry Kane. Yeah, who drops deep. Yeah,
You're only
Yeah,
supposed
Nah,
to
so-
support
internet
Arsenal
fields.
only.
so that leaves you with
I
Sterling.
support England.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
your main.
Yeah,
Your
I
I
main
know
know.
some
Say, did you see him
scousers
in the
don't
summer
like
with
England,
the
innit?
gold
That's what
mine?
Carl was telling me about.
It's not good enough. Like Southgate is not good for England. Yeah, he
I
needs
was-
to be.
I agree. I agree.
I
Nah,
was
he's not good-
wearing
he's
a
not good for
Rashford
England.
top at the Euro
It's not,
final.
it's not even about like if he's good enough or not. Yeah?
Rashford,
It's
yeah,
just this type of
Rashford.
football. If he was, I don't know. What's a team you're that like if they go to a final, they defend and then try
We
and
could
make a
leave
goal
it
and hope for the
to
best.
today, you know.
Leave these two, yeah. I think you know what, boys. We've got to agree to disagree, innit? Like we've had this conversation a lot of times. OTC believes, you
He's
know,
gonna down at England Hill, man. He needs that passport.
pick,
Pretty
he believes
Portugal,
pick on how they've done
Shout out Home
previously.
Office.
Whereas a lot of us, I would think, you know, you got to balance it, have some form, and have pick players who are in form, innit? You know what I'm saying? So, Here's
for
what
the
it
last
is,
5
boys.
minutes, we got one thing. We'll just do this one for 5 minutes. Where is it? Who's the best centre back in the Prem at the moment?
If Dan
Thiago
says
Silva.
the butcher,
Thiago Silva.
I'm blocking him. If Dan says the butcher, I'm blocking him because I know. Don't do it. Don't
The
you dare.
leprechaun.
I'm blocking you, bruv. If you don't you dare, bruv. Don't you dare. I know you want to. That's the thing. I know you want to.
Who's the best centre back in the league? Then? Go on.
The
Let's go into
leprechaun.
Who's everyone's pick?
know?
Go on, who's your pick?
Muller, go
pick
first.
Thiago
then.
Who's the
Silva.
best centre back? Let me look at the table then. So who's the
Muller, go
what's the-
first.
who's the
Currently,
top
yeah.
two?
No,
If I'm
you
going off the
should-
top of my head, yeah, the one I'm liking at the moment, and again, it could be argued, but I'm liking Ruben Diaz at the moment.
Leave. Nah, mate. Nah.
I said
nah.
I like Ruben. I'm not. That is who I'm picking right now. Ruben. Like I say, it's open for argument right now. The one I would pick if I'm picking Ruben Diaz. But then again, you could make an argument for others. I'm just saying that's what you said. Thiago Silva.
He's been playing better than Ruben Diaz. I'll tell you that. Chelsea as a whole been playing
Do you
bad.
know who I think's
But-
made
but-
a big impact? Raphael Varane. I think Raphael
He's
Varane
looked a lot better
this
this season.
season is starting to show why Man United bought him. I do believe that. That's what I do believe.
Can I say who my pick was? No.
Go for it.
Don't say that midget, blood. Don't,
No.
man. Don't.
No.
I'm joking. Say you won, bro. I don't care.
Right, Martinez is in the top three, but for me, the best centre back is Varane, and I'll tell you why.
I have no argument with it. This is a good
Right.
debate to have.
That for me, he knows exactly what his role is as a centre back, and he does it to a T. There's no ifs, no buts, and he's got a partner in crime in Martinez. He knows exactly what he's supposed to do. Yeah, you know the pop guy.
Oh, no.
We all knew this was coming, innit? Like, that's the thing, innit? We all knew.
But Varane for me, he's been number one.
That's the
Like-
father of crime. Hey, yo,
Batman
you look
of
No, it's
over
part of
here.
the time.
Hey,
Number
Nah.
two in the league. Number two in the league, I would say would be. I'll probably go with Diaz.
No, if I'm going off stats, yeah,
I'll go with
Varane
Diaz.
is
I'll
stats
go with
wise.
I'll go with
No.
Diaz. I'll go with Diaz number two.
partner
It'll be
in
Varane,
crime.
Diaz.
You look
Yeah,
over
partner
your
in
shoulder, yeah. That partner, you're gonna look on the floor, mate. The partner and the partner.
Mate, don't even talk.
You know, it's,
You can't
because
see
if I'm
him,
being
mate.
honest, yeah, one of my number
Mate.
one picks would have been Anderson, but I think that's a bias thing. So I took myself out of a bias situation, and that's why I went with Diaz. Like I've not got because I think Anderson's class, but I do think overall Diaz, and I've got no objections to Varane being number one because when you start looking at stats, if you want to go by stats, Varane's stats kind of back him up.
Wait, Oz, what about BVD? What's
No,
what about,
no,
you know,
don't you dare,
yo,
don't
No,
you
to
dare.
be fair, I've not watched the season from the beginning.
You know what? Yeah, go
so-
back and watch the first game against Fulham, and when you see them step overs by Mitrovic and the spinning, yeah, it was peak.
All right.
It was
Mate,
peak.
Bruv,
It
the
never
slowest flip flap elastic I've ever seen in my life, bruv.
All I'm gonna say is this,
Mitrovic was out
All
here,
that was
bruv.
missing was the zero
Honestly.
frame.
Virgil van Dijk's been bad. I would actually say he's been worse than as performing. He's been worse than Chelsea's defenders, and Koulibaly's been bad.
get
Virgil
You
in
know,
the
Van
bin,
Dijk.
GC would
Get
have
in the
thrown him
bin,
in there,
Dan.
innit?
No way,
No,
no
what?
way.
Virgil's been worse than
I'm
Chelsea's
just
defenders.
here.
getting wrong.
I don't know. There's one team that's top of the table.
You know what it is?
There's
I'll
one
give
one
G
defender
credit,
who's
G
playing
credit,
well,
'cause
who's
I'll say
also
Saliba.
scoring
Saliba
goals,
deserved a shout.
who's a young
Saliba
player,
deserved a shout.
and I'm not hearing his name. I'm hearing like
Who, the
But
videographer? That
once again,
videographer.
he's not mine.
That geezer.
He's not mine. But I have no objection if someone said he was number one.
Nah, man.
I'd have no objections. That's what I'm saying. I have no
It's not
objections in this
cameraman.
thing, but Saliba does deserve credit.
he has been immense, bruv, for 7 games. He's looked. It's a small sample size. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So and we
I
haven't
think
played
the Rio
as many big
Ferdinand
teams. You know what I
comparisons
mean?
are a bit wild, but
Yeah, I can't really say
Again,
anything
that's
because
what-
of
I
all
would
those
have-
seven,
I would have
seven
to-
games, all I've watched is like 2 rounds a game, so I can't really say, oh yeah, this is. I'd have to
No,
go off
fair
the stats. I can't go off what I've watched because all I've watched is mini size. Do you know what I
Well, do
mean?
you know what the stats say? Everton have conceded the least amount of goals. That's what
yeah,
the stats
that's
Yeah.
true.
I would have Saliba in my top 5. I would have him in my top 5.
Dan, you're shameless, bro. Dan,
What? I have him in my top 5.
no. Dan,
You know,
Dan,
it is.
You're
One
mo-
second.
You're
He's in his top
mocking it,
4 out of 5, and that means he's fourth or fifth because we already said he's not in his top 3.
Yeah, I
Dad,
already said my
you're
top 3.
I love it.
No,
I
he's
love
not.
it.
No. Listen,
You know, it is.
Saliba-
Dan tells you how it
Saliba's
is, isn't
it.
it?
Like Saliba's number 4, and I will put Tarkowski number 5.
See, Tarkowski's not even a
Who's
bad
ahead of
shout.
Saliba then, Dan? What 3 defenders would you say?
Well, we got
Martinez,
I said
Martinez,
Varane.
Diaz,
Martinez, Diaz.
Martinez, Diaz, and Varane. I already said my top 3 already.
Oh, 2 United defenders, man. Come on, bro. Yeah.
You know, at least he went for the good partnership because you know they both together they've looked good. Like when both of them have played next to Maguire, boy, it's been shocking.
Yeah,
That's
because
how I
of
don't
Maguire.
know how you have him in your team.
Mate, Maguire's poor. I'll
OTC,
tell you
right.
now. As soon as at the first opportunity, as soon as Maguire's soldier, man's going to be on the run.
Look at
I'm
that
not gonna
video.
lie.
Who was it where he was doing that mad little stretch and then he ended up kicking Pogba in the head with that same dead kick
Maguire
that he was practicing?
Maguire.
Yeah, that he was practicing in the warm up, like at the
Was
thing
it?
when
Was
they're
it?
standing
Was
behind.
it? Was it against Tottenham? I can't remember.
No, it was
one
against Norwich.
But
No, I was
anyway,
right,
yeah,
it's
it was
actually-
against
it's
Norwich.
now it's now on a public video. The 2 best defenders in the league are Martinez and Varane. You know, the 2 Man United players. So
That's not
let
what
the
I said.
man put it out there, bro.
That's
You know
not
what I mean?
what I said. I said my top 2 was Varane and Diaz.
So
That
who
was
was
my
yours,
top two.
OTC? Thiago Silva.
I think
Or
Thiago
Koulibaly.
Silva's been the best. No. Koulibaly not been top 5, but he has been decent this season. I can't lie.
You
He's
say
been okay.
Koulibaly?
He's not been bad.
No,
I don't
Damn
think
it.
Koulibaly's been bad. Like, the way we
Wait.
concede goals, I don't think much of it was down from Koulibaly or Thiago Silva's direct mistakes. A lot of it's down to the midfield.
No, to
Because
be fair, to be fair on Thiago Silva, he has done a decent job. His issue is the partnership around him. That anyone around him has just been piss poor.
My fear
Literally.
this season that he's gonna get older overnight, though, man.
I don't. He never had pace from the get go, so I don't think it'll be.
No, I know, but I just think I just have this feeling towards the back end of the season, I can just see it going.
Father Time, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's gonna catch him.
I don't think he will, because I think that he's playing the back three. As long as, and this is the problem, because the others are not doing what they're supposed to do, it makes him look bad at times. But if they do what they're supposed to do, there's no issue because
that's unfair.
He shouldn't be. He shouldn't.
I know you're talking about the other centre backs, but the midfielders have been because the centre backs you're talking about is for Fana on one side.
Yeah, but he's not doing
He's only had one game. He's had one game.
But
And Koulibaly's had.
And Koulibaly hasn't been doing his
He's
job.
had 3 games. Or 4 games.
Yeah, but
come on,
whatever it is, because he got suspended, right? Because he was doing a madness, right? For no reason.
Oh,
Finding people for no reason.
Double bullshit to get the 2 yellows.
For no reason.
I got spun.
Why was that? Because you got spun. Because I told you from the get go, man was gonna get spun, and then he got spun, and he used that. If it was Italy, just commit the foul, get away with it. No, this ain't Italy, mate. This is England.
He's only played a couple of Premier League games, man.
1 second.
Yeah, but he's meant to be world class.
One second. Let's just wrap this recording up.
Isn't the next?
Yeah, so I'm going to end.
The next fixture for Man United, Man
That's what
City.
Emma's saying that, Dan asked for a topic of conversation, and he's now put Lisandro Martinez and Varane in the top 3 best defenders in the league. End the stream.